Anyways, hey guys, thanks for having me here. Hey, check it out, guys. I am doing an interview this morning. I'm going to be on the JackWagonSports morning show. I think it's called Out the Tunnel. So I'm going to be getting an interview with them. So if you see me quietly sitting here, I apologize. I will get into it once they start asking me questions. Let's go, sitting tight. It's 8:59. We're going to be quiet for a little bit. Thanks for being here.
Chicken of the product.
Alrighty, here we go.
T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It is our first out of the tunnel of 2023. We are so excited to have you here. And we have our
George, your speaker's not working.
He went out, but I heard him initially.
yeah.
Still can't hear you, George.
You hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right, what a start to 2023 for us. There we go. Welcome, everybody, to our first out of the tunnel of the season. We are so excited to have you here. We have a huge special guest today, Mr. Rico Knows. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you, sir?
I'm doing amazing. Good morning.
Good morning. So a lot of our followers may not know you. I've discovered you on TikTok. You have a huge following on TikTok and YouTube. So we want to do a little Q&A here with you to get our morning started. First off, how did you get into content creation and deciding that you wanted to do this with your spare time?
So this is going to blow your guys' mind because it has absolutely nothing to do with sports. In about 2014, so let's say 9-10 years ago, I was informed that people were using my likeness and image, my NIL, my name, image, and likeness, to defraud women all over the world. True story. Like catfishing, right? So I'm at work one day. Mind you, I'm a senior leader in the Army. I think I was a sergeant first class at the time, meaning I'm a platoon sergeant. I'm the guy in charge. And as I keep getting promoted and getting more levels of responsibility, people keep giving me these little rumblings like, hey, somebody's pretending to be you online. I didn't know what they were talking about. So I finally went online and I saw on Facebook, Instagram, and all the dating apps and even Craigslist and all these things, people were pretending to be me, using my pictures to defraud women all over the world. And I thought, wow, if only I could get all that money. No, I really thought, like, the nerve of these guys. So it turns out it was like a group of African scammers, and they were doing their thing, and they were ripping people off all over the world. So I said, let me get off social media, deleted all my accounts. I work for a 3-letter agency, right? I work for the military. I do a lot of different things. I'm a cyber expert. I cannot be caught up with this. So for my entire career, I've been in the Army over 20 years now. Excuse me. Just got a pop-up, and that just ruined everything. Sorry about that. So after my entire career in 20 years, I got to keep it clean. I stay off of social media. Then one day I decide, man, I want to go clear my name. Like, a lot of people think I'm the one defrauding everyone. A lot of people think I'm the one making these fake profiles online. So I started TikTok because I could actually talk to people, and you can't do this. Like, you can't pretend to be me if I'm talking every day, and it's a video. You can still photos. You can do all that. So I went and I said, I'm going to make a video. And I started making videos, and I was giving advice to women who were getting defrauded by hackers. And I swear to you, I did this for like 4 months or 5 months on TikTok, where I was just in here talking to the victims of anybody who fell in love with my photos. And that was my entire following. So my entire following, I got up to like 5,000 followers, and it was all women. And it was all talking about relationships, getting catfished, dating apps, how to make your relationship last longer. Mind you, I'm a twice divorced 40-year-old man. I can tell you all about failure. Nonetheless, one night, though, as I'm going through the For You page, Barstool Sports came up. And one thing in my repertoire that I don't really share with everybody, at least at that time, was, I'm a sports fanatic. Like, I'm a walking almanac. And nobody knows this. Like, I just don't share it with anybody. I didn't like to talk sports at work. Hated it. I couldn't stand any sports conversation. If two dudes were talking sports at work, I would avoid them. I had a rule at work. You can't walk, so I'm a first sergeant. You can't walk by my office and be like, yo, Top, did you watch the game this weekend? I call that a drive-by. No, I did not watch the game. Get back to work. It's 9 o'clock. We need to be, knee-deep in our email or whatever we're doing. So I told these guys, hey, man, no drive-bys, no talking sports. But here I am on TikTok one day, and a video on Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, came up. And somebody said Coach Prime is not an X's and O's coach. And I just felt some type of way about that statement. And so instead of hitting and arguing in the comments, instead of writing a comment, I hit reply. I showed my face, and I displayed something that's not normal for certain people giving sports takes. Meaning I can coherently and articulately, portray and exude my answer in rapid fashion, without hesitation. I know what I want to say because I'm passionate about it, and I can convey it to the masses. And the greatest thing about it is, whether you know a lot about football or you know nothing about football, I got you, right? I can explain things in a highly technical way, or we can break it down to like layman's terms. Like, yo, cuz you're way wrong. Like, you're way off. Like, you're just out of pocket right now. Or we can sit down and we can say, hey, by the way, he doesn't have to be an X's and O's coach. He hired a new coordinator in Sean Lewis, the former head coach at Kent State, and he's the X's and O's guy. Most head coaches aren't X's and O's guys. They're more organizers and managers of resources. And I went on and on and on this take. And I went to bed. Woke up the next morning, and I had 300,000 views on that video. And I thought, what the hell just happened? People were sharing it everywhere. They were like, whoever this guy is, he knows sports. And at the time, my name was not Rico Knows. It was Rico with a bunch of numbers at the end that mattered to me. You know what? And I don't tell anybody this, but it's Rico 1128. That was my original thing, right? The 1128 are my high school football numbers. I used to wear number 28 when I went to one high school, and then when I transferred to the fancy high school for my last 2 years, when I transferred there, 28 was already taken, so I had to wear number 11. So these are my two high school jersey numbers, and it's there. It's Rico 1128, but nobody could remember it. So one day, one of the commenters wrote to me and said, man, you know everything. You should just change your name to Rico Knows. And I wish I could find that comment because I want to give that man credit, whoever came up with the idea. And I hope nobody goes out there and tries to claim they said it. But some guy just chimed in and said, Rico, this should be your name. And I changed it immediately. That's pretty cool. But, that's how I got started in sports. Now, don't get that twisted. I was a sports writer. I was a journalist back when I was 18 years old, 19 years old. I worked for a newspaper. I also did something called agate text, or an agate clerk. That means you do the box scores for newspapers. So I've always had a background in sports information. Just my ability to retain and convey is just next level. But I've always been doing this. I just wasn't getting paid to do it. And nowadays, life is pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and so the next question I want to lead into with your content creation. So obviously, you don't miss very often. You have a whole playlist on your TikTok of I'm right, of all the hot takes that you've had that have turned out to be true. People came after you. But what is one experience or one take that you had, might not have been horribly wrong, but, one that was, I missed on that one that sticks out to you in your mind that you're
boy.
yeah, I missed that one.
I don't dwell on the misses all that often. I can tell you that right now. But what I'll say to you is this. People are kind of in disbelief with how many things I get right. Right? If you're a gambling man and you hit on 55% of what you're saying, you make a living doing that. Right? You're in the positive. It's insane. I was interviewing a guy yesterday, and he says, "Oh, I do picks." And I said, "Well, what are you batting for the year?" He does baseball picks. He goes, "I'm at 55%." I'm like, "Holy smokes! If I was at 55%, I think I'd be crucified." Right? But the reality is if you watch my UFC live streams, I'm at about 90% on UFC fights. If I tell you who's going to win the fight, I'm right. 90%. I'm not even joking. It might even be higher, which is absurd because I don't gamble. Everybody's like, man, I want to know what he's saying. We're going to find out what I'm hitting on football. But when it comes to draft projections, that's where you can get it wrong. Like March Madness came, and I hit on March Madness. I picked the winner. My bracket was in the 99 percentile. I picked UConn. Everybody go, well, he made 20 brackets. No, I showed the screenshot. I made 3. But I also picked FAU to go on a run, and they did. I picked Conference USA to be amazing in the NIT, and they were. It's just sometimes you pay attention to the details. It's not hard to be right when you evaluate these players for 5 to 6 years at a time, right? I become familiar with the players from high school all the way through college. So by the time they transfer, redshirt, they're in the 2 deep, I've known about these kids for years upon years. And it's not the same as somebody trying to guess who's going to be right, and you just did some research and you Googled search for that week and tried to figure it out, right? So that's why I'm hitting so often. It's just familiarity and actually knowing the game and knowing what's going on. I pay attention to coaching changes a lot. I believe coaching staffs are part of the equation and the metric. But if you want to talk about me missing, the only time I'm going to miss, to be serious, the only time I'm going to miss is when I make a projection on a draft pick. And a lot of this has to do with the NFL and how they utilize players. I have a bigger issue with the NFL having a larger commitment to players they're financially invested in as opposed to the best players on the team. Right? Think about that. Right. There are better players that aren't starting because they don't get paid more. It happens. There are 5th and 6th, 7th stringers who are probably better, but they're not going to have the same level of commitment to that team or stay on the roster. They'll just release them because they know they're going to clear waivers, and then they can put them on the practice squad. But they're going to keep a guy that's $3 million and a backup quarterback, but they know damn well he's not better. Happens all the time. But I did miss. I said very clearly, very loudly, I believed in a ton of group of 5 wide receivers who have not hit in recent memory. There's a guy named Moore. I think it's Sky Moore.
Sky Moore, yeah. I know.
Sky Moore, wide receiver, looked great in the combine, looked great all season. I believed in him. A lot. Western Michigan has gotten me in trouble the last couple of years. At least 5 years now, 5 or 6 years. It happens, but I will say that I try not to guess where lightning's going to strike. I said this the other day. I try not to guess where lightning's going to strike. But I could advise a GM and an entire team whether or not it's going to rain. Like, I could tell you whether or not that person's going to be a flop and not be great. I can't tell you who the next Hall of Famer is going to be, but I can tell you who's not going to be a starter in the NFL. And what that comes down to is like, you can't measure somebody's work ethic, commitment to the game, and their development or their commitment to their own self-development. I have no idea who's watching film. I don't know who's going to get to the NFL and be excited that they made $30 million and never try again. Right? You look at a guy like Trey Lance, $27 million at San Francisco. Does he really need to try in Dallas? Or can he just collect a couple more checks and call it a day? He doesn't need to try, right? Mm-hmm. So it's hard to measure commitment to the game and what's going to happen. But if I was ever going to miss, it would be trying to project draft picks because I don't know the personality of 32 different GMs and what they value in their structure, their franchise.
So I'm glad you brought the draft. That kind of leads into my next question. So a lot of high-profile colleges, Alabama, Ohio State are the 2 big ones. It used to be USC before Lincoln Riley got there. Obviously, we will need to see what happens with Caleb Williams. But What do you think the biggest issue is that quarterbacks go from these high-profile programs that look so good in college that when they get to the NFL, they really start to struggle? Like I said, Ohio State was a big one. You had Dwayne Haskins. We'll have to see how C.J. Stroud turns out. Justin Fields, as a Bears fan, is looking okay so far. But they have a long history of quarterbacks going to the NFL that were highly touted that just don't pan out. Do you think it's more a college program issue and developmental, or is it just the NFL not using them properly, having to adjust to new coaching system? What do you think the biggest problem is that we see that issue so often? So
the game is evolving. You used to say a quarterback is a system quarterback, and that was a bad thing. You were labeled a system quarterback. Think of in the late 80s, early 90s, I don't know if you guys can remember this, but David Klingler and Andre Ware, they put up a ton of numbers because they were in a system in Houston. Okay, then you went to BYU and Ty Detmer and the boys. It was a system of just throwing the ball. More recently, Texas Tech with Mike Leach. That's a system, right? Chip Kelly at Oregon. All those guys were system guys, and they didn't quite pan out. Western Kentucky, right now, people would say they're a system. It's just it's just this gunning, air raid offense type stuff. Here's what I'm going to say, though. The NFL has evolved. All those guys who got labeled system quarterbacks, they can actually succeed nowadays because the NFL makes the quarterback the system now. Now you'll draft a guy and you'll draft around that quarterback. You'll try to make him better. Instead of trying to fit him into your system, you just draft the guy that you want, the best player possible, and then you build around him. So when you look at guys like Tom Brady and Matt Castle going to New England and fitting into that system, it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't apply. So you get Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi, and you go, can we just plug them into this system and they'll be successful? Well, it's such a rarity, and the older coaches are still doing it. Shout out to Pete Carroll. That's a system. What Pete Carroll did in Seattle, getting Geno Smith finally in there. Geno Smith didn't just magically become great. He got into the right system. And the same thing, Russell Wilson leaves that system, and now you're trying to build around Russell Wilson, and it doesn't quite work. So there's those two different paradigms where it's like the coaching staff is going to get credit for how great they do in their success, or is it the player, right? Now, why can't some college programs and players translate to the NFL? I'm going to blow your mind, and I think I should save this for a video on my channel because I think it would get a ton of views. But I'll give you guys, I'll peel it back a little bit. When I do film study, and I actually sit in here in my lab and I go over it all, the one thing I notice that nobody's taken into consideration is the hash marks. Okay? The NFL hash marks are different from the college hash marks.
Right.
Everybody clear on this? So it's a narrow field or it's a wider field. Now, everybody thinks, well, what's the big deal with the hash marks? Well, it's a big deal to kickers, right? It's a harder kick when they make you keep it on the hash. Well, what about quarterbacks who magically get this huge wide side of the field to work with, and they can now run a trip set, and they have more spacing? Okay, when you're in college, these hash marks are so wide that you can actually get away with certain formations, take advantage of it. This is what Oklahoma does. This is what, or used to do. This is what Josh Heupel does at Tennessee. What Wake Forest does. This is why Hartman was so great in a mesh offense. They take advantage of this hash mark thing, and it creates a numbers advantage. And it gives you this great, I guess, unforeseen circumstance that you can't duplicate in the NFL. The other thing is it's really hard to evaluate players when your entire team is better than the opposition. That's the reality of the situation. If you're surrounded by 5-star players, I don't know how good you are because they can make up for your mistakes. They can make up for your mistakes. So when I look at a guy like Bryce Young, he's great. I love it. But Bryce Young played at Mater Dei, the number one high school team in the country, his entire career. Then he went to Alabama, surrounded by 5-star players, his entire career. And now he's at Carolina. And when you saw him in the preseason games, last night he played great. But when you watch him, you go, oh, he doesn't have that talent advantage everywhere. Yeah. Oh, this is the first time he's going out there, and his linemen aren't better than the other linemen, and his wide receivers aren't better than the DBs. And that's where the challenge comes in. A lot of these guys have always been the best player on the best team, and that's the case when high school goes to D1, but it's really drastic when you're at Ohio State and you've been stomping out everybody in the MAC and everybody in the Big Ten, and then you show up to the NFL and you go, holy shit, my tackle's not as good as he was, right?
Right.
So, and that's what happens there. So that's my assessment on why they struggle, is there's a talent gap, and you don't have that talent gap when you get to the NFL. Everybody can play ball, right?
I watched your film breakdown this morning on Bryce Young when he played last night. And, I mean, you brought up that same point. You talked about how at first he wasn't feeling that pressure. He needs to step up in the pocket, but he's not used to that because his tackles could take care of anybody. He could sit in that pocket for longer. Now he needs to get used to it. And then, but you also talked about how throughout that game, it seemed like he developed more on that 3rd and 9. Hey, I just need to run this. I just need to get yards, get the first down. So I think Bryce Young, and this is my standpoint on it, he has the football brain to know how to adapt and learn from there. Whereas I feel like other quarterbacks in the past might have been, like you said, hey, we're jumping into this new system. I got to play against the big boys now. And then their brain just, for some reason, just can't seem to want to improve from there, whereas Bryce Young, and it's a preseason game, but it looked like he's, okay, this pressure is coming. I can't just stand back here all day. I need to step up in the pocket. I need to take off and run.
Have you ever heard an NFL quarterback talk about an old game he played in? Like one of the great NFL quarterbacks, Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Drew Brees.
Yeah.
They can replay every single play in their brain.
Yeah.
Like they just call it back, right? It's called cognitive load. Right? Let's say you're at the shopping mart. You're in the shopping. You're buying food, and you want to throw something in your cart. Eventually, if you keep throwing stuff in the cart, it gets full, and it doesn't matter what you throw in the cart. It's just going to fall out and not stay in the cart, right? When you get information and you have to process, your shopping cart is your cognitive load. These guys can learn so much and retain it in their cart. Some guys have bigger carts than others. Okay? Bryce Young has a huge shopping cart. He just needs to learn what aisles he's going to go down with it and what he's going to throw in it. But he can remember everything. And we know this because in the pre-draft cognitive load testing, right, in that S2 testing he did, he was first. Second was Jake Haener. But Bryce Young was able to process things and understand and remember ciphers, right? Like, I'm so great. Check me out, bro. I have a cognitive load you can't mess with. Get to know Rico Knows. Get is the 7th letter in the alphabet, E5. T is 20, so the next word 2 is 2015, 11, 14, 15, and 23 is no. Rico is 18, 9, 3, and 15. I can do a cipher right now in my head because my cognitive load is ridiculous, right? And these quarterbacks are very similar when it comes to the NFL. I want to tell you that Anthony Richardson had a play, and I showed it to everybody. He had a play where his pre-snap read, he should have identified a linebacker was locked on his running back. And when that linebacker changed his responsibility mid-play, he did not identify that his running back's now open. Okay? That inability to process in the moment under the heat of fire, that's innate. Okay? It's innate. You can try to sharpen it, coach it, make it better, but some guys have it and some don't. Okay? You're either born with it or you're not. I'm telling you, you can do a bunch of memory drills and but we got to figure out what's your baseline. Everybody's got a certain level of cognitive load, but what's your baseline? What's your shopping cart?
Right.
So I feel like he has the ability to be great, but remember this, Bryce Young has the right mindset, but one of the skills he showed last night was the ability to run the ball and make guys miss. I saw it in practice. I watched a lot of practice tape on him. Remember, they never go live at practice. They're never. I'm like, did he really make him miss? And they let him throw the pass or whatever. But he looked good. But a little guy like that, having to run to move the chains, that's a recipe for disaster. That little guy, a linebacker, will eat him.
Yeah.
Right? So.
Last question for you before we get into looking at the full college football season and today's slate. You cover so much about football. Like you said, you watch film on NFL, college, and even high school. I've noticed you started talking about individual high school players if they comment on your TikToks and so on. If that takes a certain kind of love for this game, what is it about football that makes you love it so much that you don't only just make content, but that you sit there and you deep dive into everything and you do all this draft analysis, you look at the transfer portal, recruiting rankings, high school film, NFL film. What is it about this sport that makes you love it so much to go through all of this?
I'm not a fan of teams. I'm a fan of players and coaches. And if I want to cheer for a player, I want to know his journey, right? And his journey started in high school, youth sports, whatever it is. And the sooner I can get on that journey bandwagon and become informed, the more intertwined I can be and the more value I can have in his journey. I want to tell you guys that I grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan in Southern California. Yeah, I'm okay, Slade. You all right, Slade? That man had a gasp.
You got Trey Lance. You're good.
No, goodness, no. No, I am not a Dallas Cowboys fan today. Let me explain. I was a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I had nothing but Dallas Cowboy fan friends, right? You circle yourself around the elite. And we're winning all these Super Bowls in the 90s, and Emmitt Smith gets traded to the Cardinals. And instantly, all my friends hated Emmitt Smith. Never cheered for him, didn't want to see him go for 1,000 yards, not breaking Walton Payton's record, don't want to see him break the touchdown record. I said, what the hell is wrong with you guys? This has been our idol, our icon. I wore number 22. This is my first number ever in youth football. I'm number 22. Shout out to Emmitt. And I couldn't believe it. I was looking at all my friends like, what are we doing? And fantasy football led me to watch games and cheer for players, not teams. Right? All of a sudden, I want to see these guys perform better. And I realized, man, if you're a fan of a team, you're just a fan of colors and a helmet. Like, you're not a fan of the players. Because if they leave, you don't like them. Right? The coach gets fired, you don't like him. He takes a different job, you don't like him. Where's all the Florida State fans saying Jimbo Fisher's the greatest coach ever because he won him a national title? Where are all those people? You don't see them anywhere.
Nope.
No, they're nowhere. I can remember when Jerry Rice went from the 49ers to the Raiders. And magically all these Raider fans were Jerry Rice fans. It was disgusting. So I will have no allegiance to a team whatsoever. And that's why I'm so infatuated with the transfer portal, is I can actually be fans of these young men who are finding better opportunities elsewhere, better fits, maybe more exposure, more pro pedigree, whatever it is. I'm all for it. And I found that niche in the world of sports where nobody was getting it right. I started going to the recruiting websites, and I'm like, well, this ain't right. That kid's not there. He's not there. And my attention to detail is obviously second to none. Like, I just don't get it. I'm like, I need to be QA, QC. I need to be quality assurance and quality control for these websites. I would fix all of them all in one day, right? That could be my full-time job. But they don't want to hire me because a lot of people will lose their job. I think you can just get rid of all the overhead and just hire me and I'll fix all your websites. Well, Rico, why don't you run your own website? I don't want to do that either. But, yeah, that's what made me fall in love with it. It was the trade of Emmitt Smith. The journey that I want to be associated and attached to, it just makes me care more. Like, there's a backup running back at Georgia Southern right now. His name is O.J. Arnold. Okay? Now, O.J.'s his initials. O.J. Arnold played at Brooks High School in Georgia, a 2A school, a 1A school initially, the small schools we got out here. And I looked at O.J. Arnold and said, that's a hell of a running back. And he went to Georgia Southern. And he led the team in rushing in the bowl game last year. I'm so excited for this season. He's not going to start. There's a guy, Jalen White, in front of him, and nobody's talking about Jalen White either. Nobody knows these kids. I do. I'm out. Every Saturday, I'm like, yo, is he going to get his 100? I'm all in on specific players' journeys, and it's pretty neat to find pockets of fans. Remember, I cover 133 teams. You can go on YouTube. You can go on TikTok, and you're going to find sports commentators and journalists and they're going to have one team that they are an expert on.
Right.
I can have a conversation with a fan from any team in America, 133 FBS teams. You can be a diehard fan of your team, and I can have a conversation with you about your team. And I'm telling you, you're going to learn something because I know your team better than you. And it's just the level. Guys, I'm immersed in this shit. What do you do every day? You guys go to work? I'm assuming? Yeah, you guys go to work. This is my work. I wake up, bro. I kid you not. I have a significant other. Her name's Kim Jones. Kim will be sitting here. I'll wake up in the morning, breakfast, shower, go for a run. Then I'm done, bro. Then I'm sitting right here in the lab for the next 10. Somebody said, how much film you watch? There's no way you watch that much. Bro, easy 10 to 12 hours a day because I love it. It's not work to me. If you could get paid to do this right here for the rest of your life and you made enough to pay your bills, what would you do? Would you trade it for everything? It's scary. It's a scary leap, let me tell you.
Yeah.
But here we are, and I don't regret it for a second, y'all. So yeah, that's why I am who I am.
That was the perfect answer, and that's one of the things I love about watching your content on TikTok is, like you said, you deep dive into everybody. You're not just looking at Colorado or Dallas or whoever. You're looking at Georgia Southern, Georgia State, and you know everything about those teams, and you, like you said earlier, you can speak highly intelligently on every little detail about these teams, and that's what makes your content so watchable and so much fun. And that's what we love about Rico Knows.
Don't tell that to any of the SEC fans, man. I am one of the more vilified. I am a vilified person in the South. Like, people are looking for me right now. Like, I promise, they'll never find me.
Well, what we're going to do now is we're going to shift into, and we're going to unveil our JackWagonSports Top 25. So the way we came up with this is we took, all three of us came up with our own Top 25. We took your Top 25 that you posted, a few other creators as well, and we just used a point system. So if you voted a team first place, they got 25 points. The 25th got 1 point. And that is how we got this. So let's look at teams that received votes but didn't make the top 25. It's going to show up here.
Oh, I know I gave Duke that vote. For sure.
You did. And I did as well. I voted for Duke and Illinois. Those were the two teams I voted. Actually, Boise State as well. So these are the teams that people voted for to get into their top 25 that did not make the cut. So we have South Carolina, Arkansas, Illinois, Boise State, Duke, and Iowa. So, Slade, I'm going to hand it over to you, and you're going to tell us all about our top 25. So here it is.
Yeah, so I think that the top 5 or 6 is kind of known that these were going to be up there. In Michigan first, I think that they kind of just got the nod because they kept a lot of their team. I'm assuming that's why everyone else had voted them. I didn't have them as number 1, but it seems as if you and some of the other people here that we had put the vote system to did. Georgia at number 2, Ohio State at 3, LSU at 4, Alabama at 5, and then I feel like after that is kind of where a couple of the teams could kind of flip-flop, maybe depending on how these first couple games go. But USC at 6, Penn State at 7, Florida State at 8, Clemson at 9, and then Texas at 11. I think after that, this is kind of where it starts to get jumbled within everyone's top 25. I think that some of these teams in the top 20, I probably had closer to 25 or closer to 10, but I know that it's good for us all to kind of have different rankings and it to get put to one test model. Utah at 11, Tennessee at 12, Oregon at 13, Washington at 14, Notre Dame at 15, we'll get to watch them today, Oregon State at 16, Oklahoma at 17, Kansas State at 18, Texas Tech at 19, Wisconsin coming in at 20th, and then rounding out the last top 5 of the top 25, Ole Miss at 21, TCU at 22, UNC at 23, Texas A&M at 24, and South Alabama at 25.
So, Rico, seeing this, what's your first impression of this top 25?
My first impression is shout out to South Alabama for making top 25. You guys, I'm really high on South Alabama, and what people don't know is on the AP poll, South Alabama got like 1 vote, and the coaches might have gave them 4 votes. I believe they're not losing more than 2 games this year. We're gonna find out. Their first game is pretty tough, but when I look at this, I'm pretty I'm perplexed at a couple of the guys. Like I'm perplexed. I'm like confused, but more power to you guys. I don't know who's responsible for it. I'll never put TCU in my top 25. There's nothing you guys can do to me. Twist my arm, do what you want to do. I got TCU going 5-7. There's just no way around it. I know I jokingly made a video where I said Alabama's losing every home game. Alabama fans are upset about it. They took it serious. Everybody took it serious.
I can imagine.
Man, I hope it comes true. No, they weren't even paying attention. How am I just randomly going to say they're just losing every home? I just went home game. They didn't even pay attention. It doesn't matter. Yeah. But shout out to you guys for recognizing what Michigan is bringing back. Michigan does look poised to have a great season, probably win all their games, and be in the playoffs and do their thing. Now, if they do lose to Ohio State, if they don't overcome some of their hiccups and their problems, more power to them. That's their business. I'm not going to be down on them. I'm not going to be upset. It's a preseason poll. I want everybody to understand this. When you do a preseason poll, you are not predicting who's going to make the playoffs. You're not predicting who's going to win the national title. What you are saying is at this date and time, at this moment, right? It's a snapshot. This is who's the top 25. Injuries can happen, and if injuries happen, you didn't predict the injury to happen, right? But I am thoroughly surprised that Utah is at 11. I want to make this very clear. I am thoroughly surprised Utah's at 11. They've won back-to-back Pac-12 titles. Cam Rising is coming back off of an injury, but nobody is picking Utah at 11. Nobody that I've seen. So that blows my mind. More power to you guys. I'm excited for you, but I don't see it. Washington's going to struggle, guys. Washington's not going to be as good as they were last year.
That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear.
You like to hear Washington's going to struggle? Oh, I didn't know. Hey, but your team's receiving votes. I want to tell you, man, South Carolina has a tough schedule, but I think South Carolina is actually better than a lot of teams. Okay, like talent-wise, they're actually really good. You'll be surprised how good South Carolina is this year if you're not high on them. And whoever, and George, I think you said it, you put Illinois in your bracket.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't give up your day job. Don't give up your day job. There's no way in the world Illinois is in this bracket. Illinois, shout out to Altmaier for being there, but they just lost their defensive coordinator, right? Ryan Walters just became the new head coach at Purdue. They lost their starting running back, 2 defensive backs that got drafted in the NFL. Like, they just lost senior talented people. They lost really good people and coaches. They didn't just lose a defense coordinator. They also lost a linebackers coach, a defensive backs coach. They lost all the continuity you were looking for. What they were supposed to do last year was win 11 games. And they lost 3 games by 1 possession. That's their fault. They were a senior-laden team, and they didn't get it done. So just remember that. Like, I don't think they're going to achieve the greatness everybody's hoping for. Coach got his big paycheck. Congrats. But you guys got to give Iowa some more respect. Iowa's going to be solid. I'm cool with Boise winning the entire Mountain West. So if you're going to win the Mountain West, you're probably going to win at least 10 or 11 games. That gets you ranked.
Yeah.
So that's what they'll be at the end of the year. But once again, I thought it looks pretty good to me. I got no beef with it. Oh, wait. Can you guys go back to your top 25 real quick? You go back to your top 25?
Yeah. Yep. 1 second. Let me add it back here.
Sorry?
No, you're fine.
I want to double check something. Where's Wisconsin? 20?
20th. Yep.
Wisconsin's going to win 11 games.
But they're in the loser side of the Big Ten.
Wisconsin's going to win 11 games.
Yeah. I don't doubt that.
Okay.
Yep.
So look at the teams in front of them. How many do you have winning 11 games? Remember that.
Okay. Nick, let's go ahead, and you wanted to talk about some college football dark horses for this season.
Ooh.
Yes, so dark horse I don't necessarily think is the right word. We had talked outside of the podcast, just in our chat, and I felt like possibly there's a couple teams here, like the Michigans, the Georgias, that, everybody kind of expects when those 4 teams are selected at the end of the season, those are going to be 2 of the teams. But I see, 1 or 2 plays throughout the season, I think it could easily not only mess up the other 2 remaining spots, but could possibly mess up that Georgia, the Georgias in the mid. I think of, like Rico, you mentioned Ohio State earlier. As a Penn State fan, I'm a little biased, but I think they have a team that could put together, maybe not win, maybe end up the same place they have been, but, challenge, again, 1 or 2 plays could change that. So I just wanted to get feelers from everybody, see who you thought, could ruin those seasons for those teams looking to get into the college, Michigans, the Georgias. I know, I believe it was you, George, that had mentioned LSU outside of the podcast. You think that, they could spoil some things. So just wanted to get everybody's opinion. I have my current list, as mentioned, Penn State and Ohio State. I think those games with Michigan could, very easily have a chance to hopes. Bama and LSU, like you talked about, George. And then the ACC, Clemson. Like everybody's high on Florida State. Clemson's going to be Clemson. They're going to be there. So I put them on my list as someone who, could play spoiler, especially to a Florida State. There's a good chance they play in the ACC championship game. That could go a whole lot you guys' opinions and who you think, could be spoilers to those teams looking to be in the college football playoffs.
Basically, you're looking for this year's TCU, right?
Yeah, in a sense, yeah. They don't have to necessarily be, as far down as TCU was, and kind of made that pop and ended up there, but just somebody that could be that TCU.
Rico, since you're our guest, I'll have you go first. Who are you picking to be, your team out of nowhere to make the playoffs that people aren't really talking about as a playoff contender right now?
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that you're going to have a TCU every year. I don't think that that's realistic. That's not something I would ever bank my money on. Maybe when there's an expansion in the playoffs, people can start playing with this. But the reality is every single conference has about 2 or 3 really good teams, and they all have a chance to beat each other if they play each other. They play each other, right? Now, looking at the perennial powers, when you talk about the ACC, Clemson and Florida State are the favorites in that conference. One of them's going to win, one of them's going to lose. That's not a big deal. Like, that's not a derailer. That's not detracting. Same thing with the Big Ten. Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. One of them's going to win, one of them's not. That's not a big deal. What's a big deal is when you see a team like Minnesota or Purdue get lucky and beat one of those big guys. Now that's a detractor. Now that's a problem because nobody foresaw that, and it hurts your brand. In the ACC, Duke plays Clemson week 1, Monday night. What if Duke beats Clemson? Now, is it going to happen? Hopefully not. But if it does, that just ruined everything for the ACC because now Clemson's really not going to have a shot for the playoffs off that loss alone, and they could still beat Florida State and still win the whole damn conference. And now you have a conference champ with 2 losses. This happens everywhere, right? It doesn't happen in the SEC as often as we'd like, only because they don't play 9 conference games. So there's one less chance for it to happen in that conference. There's also one less chance for it to happen in the ACC. They also play less conference games. But Pac-12, if anybody's betting against USC running the table, right, because Caleb Williams is back, you wouldn't be surprised if Oregon beat them. You wouldn't. Bo Nix and them guys.
George likes that.
What? Say again?
George likes that.
Oh, I don't know who you guys are fans of. I'm just being real. But that's what happens. So when you have to look at the way I try to do it is you look at who do you think is going to make the playoffs. I try not to guess ever. You'll never see a video of mine predicting national champions or playoffs. And the reason for that is you can be a Power 5 champion and not get in the playoffs. That's absurd, right? And then they'll be in my comments like, Rico, you missed. No, I didn't miss. I just didn't know the other teams were going to go undefeated while this guy was winning the conference. Shout out to Clemson. Shout out to TCU back in 2014. That was one of the best teams I've ever seen. And they went through a gauntlet like you'll never believe. If you ever get bored, go Google TCU's schedule back in 2014 when they went through I think it's 4 top 15 teams in a row. There's no gauntlet like it you've ever seen. And they got left out of the playoffs. And nobody's mad because they got left out for Ohio State, who ended up winning it all. They're like, well, Rico, they didn't, they got the 4th place team. The 4th best team got in, blah, blah, blah. Dude, stop it. So when I look at teams that you think are going to be in the playoffs, then you have to look at teams that you think will beat them to knock them out of the playoffs. And that's where things get kind of shady because everybody's expecting Texas to have a big year.
Yeah.
They're assuming they're going to beat Bama. Because if they don't beat Bama, what are we talking about, right? So they got to beat Bama, and then they somehow have to beat everybody else on the schedule. But if you're asking me for dark horses that have a shot to run the table that nobody saw coming, I don't think it's going to happen. But if I go to each conference and I got to identify a team, in the Pac-12, I go with Oregon State. They are a very well-coached team. They looked amazing against Florida in the bowl game. They have a great team, the great nucleus. They just look tough. They're tough enough to beat people, and nobody's calling them the champs, right? So Oregon State in the Pac-12. Obviously, Utah. Got to respect them if they could put their stuff together. You go to the Big 12. I really like Texas Tech. I really do, okay? But Oklahoma State has one of the easiest schedules I've ever seen, okay? And I know Gundy's a great coach. I don't really like Oklahoma State, but I went through the schedule again, and I'm like, oh, my God. I wanted to say they were going to win 3 or 4 games, and I'm like, oh, I think they're winning 8. And if they could get momentum going and put it all together, they could win 9, 10 games. It's absurd. So dark horse in the Big Ten, I would have to say Maryland. Maryland's respectable. I think they did well in the transfer portal. They have a senior Latin quarterback. That's what we're looking for, a more experienced quarterback leading a team on a run. That's what happened with TCU. That's what could happen at Texas Tech. That's what could happen at Oregon State. That's what can happen there. In the ACC, I like Duke a lot, but when you start looking at teams that can run under the radar that nobody's talking about, Pitt, but I don't think they're going to have a good year, but Pitt could do it. Like, there's teams out there that can just smack you in the face. Mississippi State can do it. Will Rogers is a great quarterback. They do have a new head coach that can't get it done, but that I don't know if he can get it done. But Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, they're all very capable of doing these runs that nobody saw coming. But I wouldn't bet on it at all.
Yeah. So, Slade, who would you pick as your dark horse then?
Yeah, I went with Oklahoma out of the Big 12. I think that they have two marquee matchups this year that I think are must-wins for them before leaving the Big 12. I think Texas Week 6, they're 7-point underdogs in that game as a look at it in preseason. I mean, we're, 7 weeks away from that game, so who knows. Mm-hmm. But and then TCU Week 13, I think, is just somebody that I agree I don't think is going to have a great season, but I think that could play spoiler like Purdue has to some of the Big Ten teams throughout the year. So those are just two games that I look at for Oklahoma that if they're able to get those two, they have a really great chance at winning the Big 12 and making a run at the playoffs possibly.
I'm excited for Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really fun to see what I can't think of his name. What the head coach can do there in his second year.
Venables? Venables.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't think of Brett Venables. For my dark horse pick, I stayed in the Big 12. I went with Texas Tech, like Rico just brought up. I think they have a strong enough schedule where if they can run the table, they have the resume to do it. And they bring back a lot of great talent. If you would have told me as an Oregon fan that Tyler Shuck was going to be a standout quarterback in the Big 12, I would have laughed in your face because he was horrible to watch at Oregon in that COVID year. He got benched for Anthony Brown. But, Jerry Maguire is it
Joey
Maguire, I think, in the movie. Joey Maguire did a really fantastic job last year getting that team together, and if he can continue that trend this season, he's an AP Coach of the Year watch, and I think he can absolutely have this team poised to win the Big 12. And that'll be huge for them because, like you just brought up, it's the final year of Texas and Oklahoma. If he can win the Big 12 against those two teams, I think it's going to be huge for that program going forward.
Let me tell you something, George. Texas Tech, the reason they're so good is Zach Kittley. Zach Kittley is their offensive coordinator. He used to be the offensive coordinator at Houston Baptist, and then he went and became the offensive coordinator at Western Kentucky for Bailey Zappi. When Bailey Zappi almost threw for 6,000 yards at Western Kentucky, Zach Kittley was the offensive coordinator. I think he's the best offensive coordinator in the country, and he's the reason Tyler Shuck is so damn good. And he's the reason they're getting all these 5-star wide receivers transferring in or coming out of high school. They're getting Dre McCray is going to be a household name. Dre McCray, Austin P transfer. He runs a 10.3 100 meters. He's so fast on the football field. So Texas Tech, for me, they play so great. Joe McGuire is great. Good linebackers coach, great high school coach before he got hired by Matt Rule. Remember, Matt Rule hired him as a linebackers coach and a tight ends coach at Baylor, and then he got hired to be in this position. It's just Texas royalty. It's just a bunch of dudes sticking around, being great, developing their kids and keeping them in the state. And if you can keep kids in the state of Texas, you're going to win some damn games. I hope they win. I don't know if they're going undefeated, but, man, I hope they rock it.
So let's go ahead. Let's make some season predictions heading into 2023. Let's look at Heisman first.
Rico ain't saying nothing.
So what we're going to do with this, Rico, because I know you don't like to make too many forecast predictions. The three of us are going to go over our predictions.
Sure.
You just tell us who you agree with the most. You don't have to make any picks, but you just tell us who you think has the best forecast for the season, how it's going to go. First thing we're going to look at is our Heisman picks. Nick, you're up first. Who's your top 5 for the Heisman right now?
Oof.
Yeah, so this ranking is in no particular order because I'm indecisive, and there's 5 other people I could have thrown on this list easily. I tried to kind of find a balance. Normally, when I'm talking Heisman or MVP, I like to look at who is going to be the most responsible for their team's success. The Heisman isn't always necessarily like that. Sometimes people have a lot of talent around them. So I kind of tried to find a middle ground here. So again, in no particular order because I'm indecisive. I have Drake May up there. They love to throw the ball. If he can cut down on, I think he has a better season, and he had a decent season last year. I'm not 100% sold, but there is a lot of hype around him. He's going to need to make some changes, but whatever. Up next, I have Drew Aller. Again, this is probably a little biased pick, but he's got all the tools that he needs to be successful. Him isn't necessarily, isn't anywhere near the top of the country. But when it comes to good quarterbacks, especially ones with good arms, they can find a way to make the players around them better. He's going to have to do that if he wants to be in this Heisman conversation at the end of the year. But again, he has all the tools to do it. Caleb Williams, this is a no-brainer pick. I don't think I have to explain this one too much. That George is extremely high on. Blake Corum, the production that he puts up, and he has a running back, in my opinion, that's, if not as talented as him, very close to as talented as him, right behind him. He's still putting up good numbers. That's something you want to see. I know running backs sometimes can be iffy when it comes to Heisman votes, but I think he deserves more respect, and he already gets a lot of respect. And then last, this one, if I had to put a 5-1 ranking, I would probably put Beck at 5, just because nobody knows what they're going to get out of him yet. But I think he is better suited to be a quarterback than Stetson Bennett was. I think he's got a better arm. It's really all going to come down to Stetson was very good at managing the game, making the throws he needed to make, and just not being dumb. If Carson Beck can do that with the arm talent that he has, I think, George is going to be right on the road to number 3. He's going to be in the Heisman conversation. So we'll see.
All right, Slade, give us your top 5.
Yeah, so my top 5 is Caleb Williams. I also went with Blake Corum as well. I think Quinn Ewers is going to have a great season with Texas. And then the last two that I think are going to end up facing off to see who's the king of the ACC this year is Jaden Daniels and Cade Klubnik. I think that all of these guys had great seasons last year, and I think that they're going to be able to kind of follow it up with that same production. I think that Caleb Williams is going to have the same exact season. Basically, I think that USC is going to either be ride or die with him. They're either going to do great this season and he's going to have some clutch wins at the end of the games, or they're going to lose close games to teams that they shouldn't be. And that's just, I kind of think how the Pac-12 is. Anything, I think George said multiple times, anything that happens on Pac-12 after 10 o'clock at night, there's no knowing what's going to happen. That the over is going to hit in the game, but other than that, nothing else.
Yeah. Just before I give you my top 5, just so you know, Jaden Daniels is at LSU, which is in the SEC, not the ACC. So, Rico, we did our conference previews, and we were talking about Jacksonville State, and Slade was, I'm not sure how they're going to do without, Dion, and I had to remind him that Jacksonville State and Jackson State are different. So my top 5, I got Jaden Daniels as well. Again, I'm very high on LSU this season, and if they're going to do remarkable things, make the SEC championship game again, they're going to need Jaden Daniels at his absolute best. And if he can play at that level, he's absolutely in the Heisman conversation. Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. Rico, I actually saw you talk about this yesterday. And if Wisconsin is going to have the year that a lot of people see them having, especially with their new head coach and just the high expectations there, they're going to need a strong run game that Wisconsin always has. They're going to be a little bit more balanced with a passing attack as well. But I think he has such a stronger team around him than he did last season. He did remarkable things last year. 1350 total yards, 11 touchdowns. I think his O-line is vastly improved. And so he can absolutely run his way into the Heisman conversation. Caleb Williams, not just because he's the defending Heisman winner, but Lincoln Riley, if there's going to be any coach that gets a player to go back-to-back Heisman for the first time since, Archie, it's going to be, I think I said Lane Kiffin, Lincoln Riley. He's one of the best quarterback coaches in the game right now. Look at the NFL talent he's developed and sent off to the NFL. So I have high expectations. I think Caleb Williams is going to put up just identical numbers to what he did last year. Bo Nix, slightly biased, just like Nick was. over almost 3,600 pass yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, over 500 rush yards. Again, if Oregon's going to put themselves in a position to be in a playoff conversation late in the season, or even just to win the Pac-12, it's going to be because of Bo Nix and his play, especially with Troy Franklin coming back. And my last pick is Jordan Travis from Florida State. He has improved steadily over the last few years. That the whole team took a giant step last season. They went from talking about firing Mike Norvell, at the beginning of the year, and all of a sudden they're talking about how Mike Norvell is one of the best coaches in the ACC. He threw for over 3,200 yards last year, 24 touchdowns, and again, if he's going to put Florida State in a key position at the end of the year to do amazing things, maybe make the playoffs, it's going to be because of him, and winning those games is what gets you in this conversation, feels like. So, Rico, who do you agree with the most? I'll put it that way.
So looking at your guys' list, I'm trying to understand maybe your guys' philosophy for putting a list together. If they're not in any order by rank and we're just listing 5 guys, I got to go with Slade's list. And the reason I appreciate Slade's list, if we're looking at it from a winning perspective, I want you guys to understand, to win the Heisman, you need to be on a winning team, one of the top-ranked teams. Don't matter about stats. Can't be a group of 5 player. Number one, a running back is not going to win it unless he's a 2,000-yard rusher and he's on the winning team. Like, shout out to everybody who's ever done it, right? It's just not happening this day and age. It's a quarterback award. You got to be in the Power 5. And you got to be on one of the winning teams. Now, last season, the thing that made Caleb Williams so great was he was having his Heisman moments at the end of the season. He was having his Heisman moments in the conference championship. But then he got hurt. But at that point, they already had anointed him and said he's going to win. But if you go back and watch the bowl game against Tulane, he didn't even rush for anything. He rushed for 0 yards. Like, he's a 100-yard rusher, and he did nothing. It's because he was injured. And that's why they lost to Tulane. Now, Jaden Daniels, do me a favor. Go look up his sacks. I think he got sacked 34 times last year. And when you get sacked that many times, it's an indication of a few things. Maybe you have a new coach and you don't know the offense. You can't process properly. Maybe your offensive line sucks. Whatever it is. But I can tell you this. Will Levis had a worse offensive line and made poor decisions with the ball. Jaden Daniels did not make poor decisions with the ball. He just ate it a lot. He just said, I'll take it. I'm good. And that's maybe a smart decision. Live to fight another day. But he needs to learn to get rid of those negative plays. It'll help his offensive numbers. He could potentially rush for 1,000 yards if he didn't get sacked so often. Okay, so that would help him. Any quarterback rushing for 1,000 yards, you start getting in that, that Vince Young conversation. But these guys are going to have to be in the national title picture. And I just look at it, and I think the variety of players he has on this list, one from the ACC, from the Pac-12, from the SEC, from the Big 12, like that to me spaces it out and makes it accurate. Go back to Nick's list. First thing I have to ask you is, you got a guy in Drake May, what's he going to do? North Carolina's not going to be a top 10 team this year. Drake May just lost his 2 leading receivers, right? Antoine Green's in the NFL, scored a touchdown last night for the Lions. Josh Downs is gone. He lost his number 1 wide receiver from the transfer portal. He's declared ineligible to play this year, Tez Walker. He lost his entire secondary. Dre Bly was the secondary coach. He just left for the NFL. 6 defensive backs drafted out. So they're going to be on defense all day long. They're going to be giving up first downs left and right. I think Drake May is going to struggle. He also lost his offensive coordinator in Phil Longo. I'm not big on North Carolina. They won't be good this year. And they can prove me wrong all they want. And if they do well, it's going to be shout out to Nate McCollum, but not necessarily Drake May. That's how I feel. Drew Aller couldn't beat out Sean Clifford to be the starting quarterback. Is he really a 5-star quarterback? I've never seen a 5-star quarterback not beat out a guy and have to sit out the year unless that guy was a stud, unless that guy was a bona fide starter. When you start looking at 5-star quarterbacks who didn't start their first year, Bryce Young, because Mac Jones was starting, C.J. Stroud, because Justin Fields was starting. It's always going to be an NFL guy in front of you. So is Sean Clifford that caliber of person to have kept Drew Aller on the bench, or is Drew Aller just not quite there? I don't know if he has the same weapons. He has great running backs that get a lot of credit for moving the chains and playing great. So I think if Penn State has a great season, it's going to be most of the credit's going to go to his two running backs. Let's be real with that. Okay, Caleb Williams, obvious selection. I'm cool with it. Blake Corum shares the backfield, and let me tell you guys something. When you're a running back and your backup running back is rushing for 900 yards, unless you're Reggie Bush, you're not getting anything because that guy's going to vulture some touchdowns off you. That guy's going to get carries when you're tired at the goal line, and you're not going to have as many touchdowns. You will not be comparable in stats. Carson Beck cannot be a viable candidate. Now, I said he's a 20 to 1 odds favorite to win the Heisman. Put your money on it if you were a betting man. Now, I don't gamble. I don't give financial advice. But what I'm saying is those odds are absurd. But the other more absurd odds are that a back-to-back national championship quarterback didn't win the Heisman, right? He already had won one national title. And then last year, he does great statistically, over 4,000 yards passing. Just insane numbers, and still doesn't win the Heisman Trophy. You have a national title in your pocket, and you still don't win the Heisman Trophy. So even if Georgia gets back there, they would have to win the entire thing. So that's fine. But then Carson Beck would have to be the reason why they win the whole thing, and that's never going to be the case. They're going to give a lot more credit to the defense, maybe to Brock Bowers and everything Brock Bowers is doing. But I just have a feeling like even if Carson Beck put up decent numbers, it's not going to be comparable. Think about it. What was his name? Hendon Hooker. Go look up his stats. Hendon Hooker's stats are out of this world, and he didn't win the Heisman. You can't. It's not just good. It's not good enough to just put up some numbers here and there. You got to be leading the team in the picture, and you got to be the reason why. I don't think Carson Beck's going to be the reason why Georgia three-peats if they do. It's not going to be Carson Beck. They could have done it without Carson Beck. But Stetson Bennett last year, he was the reason they were winning those games. He was the reason they put up so many points against Ohio State. He did come through in the clutch. And he made a lot of key passes, and he still didn't win it. So, yeah, man, I like Slate's list. It just looks realistic.
Yeah.
I'm cool with Braylon Allen. Thanks for the shout-out. I am saying that there's some guys. Hey, there's a guy out there in the group of 5 I'm excited about if he can do some shit. Frank Harris is my guy, UTSA. I'm big on Frank Harris.
All right. Moving on from Heisman, we're going to look at coaches that are possibly on the hot seat to start the season, and if they have a bad year, they could just can. So we're going to head and look at that. Now, just before we even get into it, there is one name I forgot to put on here, is Matt Campbell from Iowa State. But aside from that, are there any names that jump out to you as there's no way they're getting fired this year?
Yeah, Danny Gonzalez is not getting fired. Danny Gonzalez is not getting fired. No way.
Is there any name that we're missing from this list that you think is that nobody's talking about that could be on the hot seat looking at the record and then if they don't perform this year?
Yeah. I mean, there's 2 that you guys are missing completely. Butch Jones is the number 1 at Arkansas State. He's been there 2 years, been 3-9 back-to-back years. He's gone. I don't even care what they do. I think Butch Jones is getting fired. And then the Boston College head coach, Jeff Helfrey, is an NFL guy, was at Ohio State for 1 year, then he got the job. He's been at Boston College. They won 3 games. Remember, they fired their previous head coach because he went 7-6. They fired him because he went 7-6, and now they got a new guy in there, losing to UConn last year, 3-13. Like, Jeff Helfrey is on his last leg, and I don't see how they possibly win. I went to do film review. Remember, who's the receiver who just went to the NFL? Stud. Zay Flowers. I went to go watch film on Zay Flowers. I'm doing all my study on Zay Flowers, and as I'm watching the film, I go, oh, my God. This offense is gross. Like, the offensive scheme and the coach, whatever they were running, it was high school-esque. It was really bad. I could tell the plays before the snap. I was like, oh, I know what route he's going to run. I remember this formation and this alignment, and he does this before the snap. And sure enough, it was the same every single time. I'm like, oh, and if I can do it from home, a DB and a defensive coordinator and a defensive assistant and an analyst and whoever works for those teams, this is why Boston College was losing all their games last year. So Boston College, Jeff Helfrey getting fired by the end of, by the end of October, which is crazy because on this list here, I want to tell you guys, I don't think Justin Wilcox should be on the hot seat. I don't, but he is. And I don't think Dino Babers deserves to be on the hot seat just because he's a good coach, man. They just don't get it done, but he's a good coach. He's a great recruiter. He's a great authority. Like I know they need a fresh face and a new voice in the locker room and all this stuff, but, man, he don't deserve it. He don't deserve it. And you should write No Brown in all caps, and I think you did, but in a bigger font size.
Yeah. So let's look at our last predictions for the season. We're going to look at who's making the playoff according to the three of us.
Oh, wait. I want to tell you guys something before you go to that. On the hot seat thing, I made 2 videos on coaches on the hot seat. You guys just have never seen them. They're old. I made them back in like January. So I'm waiting for them to come true, and then there'll be some I Am Right videos on the way, just so we're clear.
I'm just excited to hear, when your I Am Right videos come out, your friends don't know, but Rico knows.
Hey,
That's probably my
maybe your friends know. Maybe your friends know. Slade and Nick here, maybe they know.
Yeah, so far they know more than me. Let's go ahead and look at our playoff predictions. Nick, go over yours first.
Yeah, so I'm on the same as Rico. I hate doing these predictions, especially the bottom two. Like, I feel comfortable saying that Georgia and Michigan, could make, obviously, injuries out of the picture. Like, I feel confident saying that they can make it. Florida State and USC are definitely 2 huge question marks because, there are things that can happen in the SEC or the Big Ten, where a second team from either conference could get in, depending. Florida State and USC, I can see losing a game somewhere along the line to somebody. So it's very tough. Not a huge fan of doing this, but I'm wrong all the time, so why not be wrong now? I'm the opposite of Rico when it comes to that. I'm wrong all the time, and I'm proud of that. I could make a I'm wrong instead of I'm right playlist. But no, Georgia, Michigan, they have the tools to be successful. The Michigan, I think I have Georgia winning this. Honestly, that was probably the opposite of the Penn State bias. That's just me not wanting to admit Michigan is that good. But at the end of the day, they've returned a lot. They have everything that they need to make that final leap and see themselves holding up the trophy at the end of the season. But Florida State and USC, the 2 again, really it just comes down to can they win the games that they need to win to put themselves here. They have the talent to do it. I think they have the confidence to do it. If they could stay healthy, make the plays they need to make, win the games they need to win, I think they could easily see themselves here.
All right. Slade, let's go over your picks.
Yeah, so I went with Georgia, and then Clemson and Michigan, I think, I went with Georgia, Clemson, and Ohio State are like my definite top 3. For 4th, I went over this with George last night. Michigan, Bama, and LSU are the 3 teams that I could see making it into that 4th place spot. But we did a wheel predictor, and Michigan won that, so I put them in. I think that Georgia's going to continue with their dominance this year and make it into the final, and I think that they're going to be playing. Well, I think that Georgia.
Yeah, I put the
thing is whatever.
again.
But yeah. So I have Georgia and Ohio State playing in the final, and then I have Ohio State actually winning in that game there. I just think that they're going to be able to fly under the radar in comparison to Georgia and Michigan this year, and I think that that'll be good for them to be able to kind of shock some people.
So to be clear, you have Ohio State winning it all.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Sleep deprived George was making graphics last night and forgot to update it. Looking at my playoff picks, I have LSU winning the SEC. I think Georgia runs the table throughout the season. I think they lose a close game to LSU, so they still make the playoffs. I have Michigan running the table as well in the Big Ten, so they get the number 2 seed. And I have Florida State. I have them losing to LSU first game of the year in a tight game, but they beat Clemson twice, once in the regular season and then once in the conference championship game, and that's enough for them to punch their ticket to make the playoffs. And then I have LSU and Michigan fighting it out in the national championship game with LSU coming out on top. Again, mainly just because of Jaden Daniels, and also I trash-talked Brian Kelly a lot last year when he left and took the LSU job. I didn't think he was cut out for it. And I was very wrong, and clearly he's able to adapt his coaching style, and makes me wonder what the issue is at Notre Dame. That he got Notre Dame to the playoffs a few times. They played Alabama in the BCS championship game. I just thought he wasn't a big game coach, and I was proven very wrong. So I took it back, and I gave him credit where credit's due, and I have him winning his first national title this year.
Shout out to Brian Kelly.
Yeah, so I learned to keep my mouth shut at times. So let's go ahead and we're going to look at our cash out picks for week 0. I'm going to go over mine first since I finished in last place. First pick I'm going with is Vanderbilt of Hawaii to go over 56. This is a 63-10 game last year. I don't think that's the same score. I think Hawaii is going to put up a much better fight. But I still see this as a high-scoring game. I think even with the pieces Vanderbilt lost on offense, I think they're still going to have a decent season. And I think Hawaii is, like I said, going to put up a little bit more points on offense. Last year, Vanderbilt had 8 games to go over 56. Hawaii had 6. Just looking at trends from last season. My other pick is New Mexico State and UMass going over 45. I just look at this New Mexico State team. They're returning a lot of the same players from last year. I'm excited to see where they go. They won their first bowl game I think since 2017 last season. This is a team that hung 49 points on a very hyped Liberty team last year. I think they came into that game as 21-point underdogs. And I think UMass is, I'm not going to say they're going to be good, but I think they should be improved, especially compared to UMass standards from the past. And so I can definitely see this being a high-scoring game for week 0.
I don't agree with you. I think New Mexico State. I could be wrong. I could miss, but I think New Mexico State and UMass. I would bet the under every single time. UMass has an amazing defense. They shut down Texas A&M last year and almost beat them. UMass just got 20-something transfers. Don Brown is the doctor of the blitz. Their head coach, former defensive coordinator at Arizona. UMass knows what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball. Trust me. Now, New Mexico State. They were supposed to be improved. They were supposed to be even better. Remember, they won 7 games last year with Jerry Kill, but their quarterback, Paiva, he leaves a lot to be desired, and he still won the quarterback battle. So they still got some things to work out there. I just feel like UMass can stop anybody. They're going to make it uncomfortable for Paiva, and give me the under on this game. I shit you not. Make it boring. No one's going to want to watch it. I'm going to watch every down of it. I love it. But I'm telling you, give me the under all day. As far as the over there with Vandy and Hawaii, Timmy Chang, man, do your thing. Good luck, brother. I love Timmy Chang. Just shout out to Timmy Chang. That's all.
Nick, let's go ahead and look at Slade, we're going to look at your picks for today.
Yeah, so I think that I said it already. Anytime that a Pac-12 team plays, I'm looking at the over in that game. It's just crazy and how much points these teams in the Pac-12 are able to put up. A lot of it's due to no defense being played. But I have USC and San Jose State going over 66.5. And then in the other game, I have New Mexico State picking up the win with the spread here and just winning by more than 7 points.
I hope so. Hey, does anybody know the line on that USC San Jose State game?
I think
it was like 31.5.
Yeah.
31.5? Give me that. Give me San Jose State to cover that. Let me tell you guys, that's a huge deal. USC hasn't beat anybody by 30 points in the last year. Like only 2 teams. No matter who they play. They don't beat anybody by 30 points. So give me San Jose State to cover. San Jose State's got a really good team, guys. Trust me, they played Auburn last year, and it was very respectable. I think the final score was like 26-17 or something. I don't even remember the final score, but it was to the point where I left watching that game going, San Jose State can play some football. So now, granted, USC is going to score a ton of points, whoever they play, but San Jose State is not a game. Like, they're not a joke. Trust.
Do you think USC improved enough on defense to not only be considered for a playoff spot, but just to improve over the disaster year they had last year? Or is it going to kind of be more the same with the Lincoln Riley teams that we've seen, back at Oklahoma, where they have such a stress on offense and they kind of struggle a little bit more on defense?
The hell did you say? You said a disaster year?
Well, from just their defensive range.
They won a national title, and they were in a bowl game in a New York Six Bowl. Like, they were a disaster was the year before when they fired their coach, right? Look, man, when I look at USC, I've already told everybody this. Their defense isn't really the issue. It's their offense. Like, I'm not even joking. They score too fast. And when you score that fast, your defense never gets to rest. Like, you get on the field, you just score right away. Defense doesn't get to rest. And these guys just keep going out there, and by the second half, they're exhausted. You can't stop anything at that point. And then once you stop scoring, well, now you lose the game. But as long as you never stop scoring, you're going to win. Same thing happened to Tennessee. Tennessee, whatever Josh Heupel cooked up, their average yards per play was insane. They were scoring everywhere. But all anybody said, well, their defense sucks. No, they don't. They're on the field all the damn time. The offense scores too fast, and now these guys are exhausted by the second half. So if you can just get some running backs, first downs lead to touchdowns, slow it down a little bit. Get some first downs. Just grind it out a little bit. Let these guys breathe. And then you don't have to take the starters out. Because in college, have you guys ever looked at team stats in college on defense? Go to ESPN and look up team stats on every team. And you're going to see 40 dudes on defense with tackles. It's not just your starting 11. It's your 2 and 3 deep. They rotate everybody in because they're so exhausted. It's going to happen. So how deep is your team? USC, they got a ton of upgrades in the transfer portal on the defensive side of the ball. It looks impressive as hell. They got an all-conference linebacker in Mason Cobb out of Oklahoma State. They got Roland Wallace coming over at corner from Arizona. Him and Dorian Singer both came over. They're a pair. Roland Wallace played 30-something games at corner. They got studs, bro. They got Lucas came over from A&M. That's a 5-star kid. Going to be in the rotation. Bear Alexander, another 5-star kid, be in the rotation up front. Their front seven will be straight. They'll be great. They just need to run. Oh, by the way, they got the leading rusher, Marshawn Lloyd, from South Carolina because they know they need to run the ball more. They got 3 running backs now. Now they can rotate them in, stop going for these deep bombs and scoring on 80-yard touchdowns and leaving your defense out there to die in the second half. That's all it is. It's just an offensive scheme. It happened at Oklahoma, it happened at Tennessee, and it's happening at USC. You're scoring too fast. That's it.
Good to know.
Yep.
Nick, let's go ahead and get your picks before we look at the games for today.
Ooh.
First one I want to talk about is the Navy game. I just want to say that I said this before it started blowing up on TikTok, but I have no way to prove that. So, yeah, Navy, they like to slow the game down. They want to play the game at their pace. I don't even know if they, I should say they'll probably allow Notre Dame to score 21 on them, but I don't think they score 21 more than Navy. Cover this all day. This is the perfect game and a good big spread. I don't remember the number, but Navy doesn't let people blow them out like this. And then the other one, to be honest with me, this was just this is a close one. It's week 0. I think +1.5. I honestly think that I have them winning this game, so obviously covering the +1.5 is taken care of.
Yeah, have you ever seen UTEP?
A little bit.
The answer is no. The answer is no. I know you haven't seen UTEP, Nick, because if you saw UTEP, you wouldn't be doing this. UTEP beat Boise State last season. UTEP is a really good football team. Like, straight up, UTEP's good. People don't realize it. They're really good. They have a great coach, good receiver. Wait till you see Tyron Smith today. Tyron Smith going to go for 100 yards. He's a little receiver, little dude. He transferred he left UTEP. He went to A&M for a couple weeks. He was going to be their starting slot, and then he changed his mind, went back. Tyron Smith is one of the top 10 wide receivers in the country. Plays at UTEP. Just watch. I'm over here chilling, bro. Somebody's at the door. I'm letting you get. My dog just got startled. My dog is staring at the front door. She wants to know what's going down. She's on her way over. No, but I'm telling you right now, I got UTEP winning that game outright. Forget the spread and all that. And if I'm wrong, I'll hear all about it.
Yeah. Well, that perfectly leads us into what we're doing next. Is we're looking at all 7 games for today, and we're just going to pick them one by one.
Go for it.
So Rico, we already know you're taking UTEP. Nick, who do you got?
Yes, like I said in my cash out picks, I have Jackson State. Rico's obviously making me think about that, but I can't back out now. So
don't back out. Conviction. Rich Rodriguez.
Wait, who do you got?
I went with UTEP also.
Yeah, I went with UTEP as well. Like Rico said, I really feel like they returned a lot on the offensive side of the ball. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch this game. I'm excited to see this game just because it's Jacksonville State first game as an FBS school. I feel like it's going to be a really good environment to watch on TV. But I think UTEP gets their season off to a better start than what they did last year. In week 0.
Hey, there's a guy in that game I'm really excited about. Gerard Bowie. I made a video about him. He's a Division II kid, just transferred to Jacksonville State. So I'm really excited to see Gerard Bowie. Now, I don't even know if he starts. I don't know if they're going to get him the ball. But Gerard Bowie, when I watched his high school tape, I watched him do all these great things in West Virginia. You guys know Tyson Bagent, the Shepherd quarterback, Division II, killing it in preseason right now? So Tyson Bagent, it was his high school quarterback when he was a sophomore. But Gerard Bowie won 3 state titles in a row. I'm excited to see Gerard Bowie. I hope he gets the rock, but if he doesn't, it's going to be some dude named Lane from Jacksonville State. Lane is another transfer, Quentin. I think he's number 86. But I watched a lot of tape, wanted to try to figure out, they're new. But number 9, we're looking for number 9 in red. Looking for number 9. I'm excited for him.
I can't wait to see that. Next game up we have Utah at Jacksonville State. It's going to be 5:30 on CBS Sports Network. Next game is UMass at New Mexico. This is 7 p.m. on ESPN. Rico, who do you have winning this game?
I have New Mexico State. I like Jerry Kill and everything he's doing there. I do like New Mexico State as a program. I'm so happy I predicted they would win their bowl game last year. It's one of my very first videos in the I Am Right playlist. By the way, shout out to Nick. I do have an I Was Wrong playlist. You can go watch it. It's only four videos deep. Yep, go look at the playlist. I was wrong. There ain't shit in it, but we'll add more to it as we go.
Mine would be a whole lot longer.
Yep.
Nick, who do you got for this game?
Yeah, I had to double check here just to make sure, but I do have New Mexico State winning this.
Slade?
Yeah, I went with New Mexico State as well. I think that they're going to have a great game, and I hope that they win by more than 7 points for that catch-out pick.
I went with New Mexico State, too. I'm a huge fan of Jared Kill. I don't think he got treated right at Minnesota on his way out the door. But to see him go to New Mexico State, a program that nobody really expects anything out of, and to do the turnaround that they had last season and make the bowl game, and not only make the bowl game but win it, that was awesome to see. I'm really excited for this game. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Game 3 we have, let me get to it here, is going to be load. There we go. Ohio at San Diego State. I think this is going to be the most fun game to watch today. Ohio is one of the favorites to win the MAC. San Diego State looking for a bounce back here, looking to win the Mountain West. 7 p.m. on Fox Sports 1. Rico, who do you have winning this game?
Before we go into it, New Mexico State doesn't lose any of their bowl games, by the way. You go look it up.
I did know that yet. They have not lost a bowl game yet. They're 4-0-1.
Yeah, in their whole history. Just trivia for the smart guy in the room. Shout out to George. So for this game, I am from Southern California originally. All my high school teammates literally all went to San Diego State. That was our school. That's where we go to school when we make it to the FBS level. But what I'll tell you is I'm pulling for Ohio in this game. I like Say Bangura as a running back. He was a freshman last year, rushed for over 1,000 yards. Love Rourke at quarterback. He's coming back from an injury, but he's there. They got a walk-on. Well, former walk-on at Ohio State, Wiggums. Their star wide receiver, a little white dude, looks like he should be playing for the Patriots right now. But I love everything about Ohio Bobcats. I hope they rep, but they had to come across the country. San Diego State lost 5 of their best players in the transfer portal. They had a ton of things go wrong, but they do have a nucleus and a base of talent in San Diego that just is unrivaled by anything up in Ohio. I'm going to make this very clear. The Ohio Bobcats can't get the same level of players San Diego State can get, right? You're competing with Cincinnati, Ohio State, Michigan. Like you're getting Penn State. You're getting just everybody's taking all your players. But Ohio did the right thing. They went and got a running back from the DMV out in DeMatha Catholic, and he's a stud. And when you find players like that, you can succeed. I'm big on Ohio this year. I hope they win at least 10 games. And it starts with this one. I could be wrong, but I hope I'm not.
Slade, Nick, who do you got?
Yeah, so despite me having Ohio to win the conference, they're going to lose, in my opinion, at least a game or two this year. This one came down to home field advantage for me. I felt like it was a close game as far as me trying to decide. Giving it to San Diego State strictly just for being a home field. It's week 0. Nobody's really got a whole lot of momentum yet, as far as real momentum. So just gave them the home field advantage. But it's going to be a good game.
Slade, who do you got?
I went with Ohio here a lot like what Rico had said. I have them going on a tear this season, and I think that they're going to be a big competitor in theirs. I have them winning their conference, and so I think it starts today.
I went with Ohio as well. Again, my pick to win the MAC, and if they can run the table, especially with a big win in week 0 here against San Diego State, they could be looking at a possible New Year's Six bowl, which is unheard of for a lot of MAC teams. I don't think we've seen one since Western Michigan played Wisconsin in the Fiesta Bowl a few years ago. But they return so much on offense. I'm really excited to see their quarterback come back. And it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this game tonight. And I'm just glad it's on national TV as compared to the USC game. Game 4 we got is Hawaii at Vanderbilt. Who you got in this one, Rico?
Vandy. Clark Lea is a hell of a head coach, former defensive coordinator at Notre Dame, getting everything right, putting them all in the right position to be great. So give me Vandy.
Yeah, sign a huge extension in the offseason. If he can continue to recruit the talent that he is and retain some of that talent, we can be looking at Vandy as going from the bottom of the SEC to middle pack, and that's huge for them.
Not a chance.
No.
Not a chance. No, they'll never be middle of the pack SEC. Never.
I don't mean like up there with like.
Nope, and nope again. They'll always be the bottom. There's no way around it.
Nick, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, so despite them being at the bottom of the SEC and staying there, I also went with Vandy. Hawaii, I believe, is projected to be one of the worst teams. And I think Vandy is in the right direction. Again, they're not going to change a whole lot being in the SEC. It's hard to recruit down there. It's hard to get people to want to come play with you when they could go play for Bama or LSU or Georgia. But I think when it comes to this game, they have a clear advantage. I think they get it done.
Slade?
Yeah, I went with Vanderbilt as well. I think they're going to put up a ton of points today. I think they're going to go out and show that they want to be competitive this year.
I went with Vanderbilt as well. I think, like I said, I think Hawaii improves a lot from what they had last season. They had a couple big wins, but for the most part, they really struggled. But I think year 2 under Timmy Chang, Rico's favorite coach, I think they really improved. I think it's going to be, they're not going to be competing for the Mountain West, but they might be competing for a bowl game. And I see this being a lot closer than 63-10 like it was last season. Game 5, we have San Jose State at USC. Your thoughts on this game, Rico?
USC obviously going to win the game, but San Jose State, I'm telling you, they have the best quarterback in the Mountain West. So Cordero, former Hawaii quarterback, transferred to San Jose State, was second-team All-Mountain West last year. He can actually do his thing. Like he looks like a poor man's Tua, right? I just think he's a great leader. I think he gets it done, and they cover this spread for sure, but they're not winning the game, obviously.
Nick?
Yeah, obvious answer, USC here. Not a whole lot to add to that. If you as USC, any hopes of any sort of memorable season is out the window, so you got to get this done.
Slade?
Yeah, I went with USC as well. I hope there's minimal defense played in this game. I hope both teams score a lot of points.
He's got the over.
I'll take USC as well. Again, I agree with Rico. I think this is going to be a lot closer than that spread. Week 0, a lot of these teams seem to stumble up the gate. Think back to UNC when they played FAMU last year. FAMU had like 25 players that were available for the game, and they still hung around for the first half. San Jose State is a very good team. They can definitely hang around and give USC some fits, especially early. But I think USC definitely wins, and I would say it's at least a 2-score game, if not even 3. Next game we got is FIU at Louisiana Tech. Rico, who do you got this?
Oh, I'm super excited for Sonny Cumbie and La Tech getting a transfer in Hank Bachmeier from Boise State, getting DeColdis Crawford at wide receiver from Nebraska, getting the Markham twins from Arizona State in the secondary. Just so many great pieces showed up for La Tech this season. I don't think it's going to be even close. FIU is going to have one of the worst teams in the FBS. They lost a couple of their great players. They're playing FIU, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't see the graphic there, but I just think FIU, Gavin Bernadelle, one of their star linebackers, just transferred to Stanford, and they lost a ton of good players. Their star tight end, Fairweather, Rivaldo, he went to Auburn. FIU getting blown out, bro. I got them losing by like 30.
Nick, who do you got?
Yeah, so I also went with Louisiana Tech. I don't think it's close, and I don't think it needs a lot of explanation.
Slade?
Yeah, I went with La Tech as well. I think that they're going to have a great game. It was one of my – I'm glad Rico had said about he has them blowing them out. It was gonna be one of my picks for them to beat the 12-point spread, but I did not go with that one. I think that it's gonna be a great game now.
Everybody, if you got money and you got time, that 12 points. Look, no financial advice here, but I didn't know the spread. They saying 12?
Yeah, that's what it was last night.
That shit could be 20, bro. Like, I'm not even joking. Give me 3 touchdowns by La Tech. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm going to take Louisiana Tech as well. FIU, they unveiled really cool uniforms, and they're there in Miami. But other than that, I don't think they offer much. It's hard to pull recruits in when you got a well-known establishment in Miami just down the road, and other good schools in Florida. Kind of the Ohio situation up there in the Northeast, where they lose all those good recruits to so many better schools. So I see FIU definitely struggling again this season. I think Louisiana Tech gets a big win in week 0 here. Our game of the week is going to be Navy and Notre Dame, played over in Ireland. Fun fact about Navy and Notre Dame: the first college football game I ever went to was Navy at Notre Dame in South Bend in 2007. It was the first time Navy beat Notre Dame in 43 years, and my father told me I was never allowed to go to another Notre Dame game again. So I became an Oregon fan, and that's how we got here today. Rico, who do you got in this game?
Obviously, I have Notre Dame. I want to tell you guys, though, I was looking something up real quick. It's coming up right now. I wanted to talk about Gerald Parker, but I wanted to make sure I had his previous school correct, because it's either Kennesaw State or it's Jacksonville State, if I remember correctly. And it's escaping me right now. I wish it wasn't. Where was he from? I know he's from Georgia. I've known the guy for many, many years. But, man, I wish I remembered. Dang it. It's not coming up in time. But nonetheless, the reality is this. And I'm not talking about Notre Dame. I'm talking about Navy. So Navy has a new head coach, right? It's their defensive coordinator. And with him taking over, they're going to have continuity on defense, but they're going to struggle to score. And when Navy's going to struggle to score, Notre Dame is supposed to come out and roll out this great offense with Sam Hartman and all this stuff. There's a guy named Jaden Greathouse. You guys ever heard of this kid?
No.
Okay. You're going to know him because he's on the all-name team, right? It's either Gatehouse or Greathouse. He's from Texas, I think. This young man is a superstar. And I hope all of you guys watching the game go, whoa, if they can get him the ball. Sam Hartman needs star receivers. He wasn't great at Wake Forest. When I went back and watched the tape, he put up a ton of stats, but it was all A.T. Perry after the catch, bro. It was all A.T. Perry catch radius. Anything he missed, A.T. Perry, A.T. Perry. And it was a mesh offense, which means you utilize those hash marks I talked about. So I'm just not really big on Sam Hartman as a whole. They had a star wide receiver transfer in from Virginia Tech. His name is Caleb Smith. And Caleb retired due to injury this offseason. So they lost their star. He was the leading receiver at Virginia Tech last year. And he goes to Notre Dame. He's supposed to be the star receiver for them, and he's hurt. So he's gone, and they moved one of their running backs to wide receiver. They have so much talent. They're going to figure it out. They're going to get everybody everywhere. They're going to get the ball everywhere. But look, Navy is still Navy, bro. They're still going to take a long-ass time to score. They're still going to keep the ball forever. You're going to get one offensive series every quarter. It's going to be frustrating. Why the hell are they playing each other in Ireland? I'll never know. All right. Is this a home game for Navy? It says at Notre Dame.
It's a home game for Notre Dame. It's the first time they've ever been a home team in Ireland.
Bro, they're in Indiana. South Bend is Indiana. If you're in Annapolis and you're like, well, we got to fly to Indiana for this game. No, we're going to go further east. It doesn't even make sense. What's that?
They took the Navy ship over.
No, they didn't.
No.
Oh, my goodness. That's a fraud, waste, and abuse of taxes, bro. That's absurd.
We were joking about that last night. They're going to pan it from the stadium. You're just going to see a big battle.
Oh, I'll be furious. No, but I really think Notre Dame obviously wins the game. But I think people need to pay attention to Navy because for some reason they still win 7 games in the American. Okay, they play in the toughest Group of 5 conference year in and year out, and they're still relevant. So shout out to Ken, right? Ken got fired. Ken Niamolotu. I can't say his name, but he's actually at UCLA right now, just serving as like a mentor to the team, doing some off the book shit. I hope he's great, and I hope he's the next head coach at Northwestern. It's a whole nother conversation. But, I just feel like Navy traveling all that way to get their ass whooped sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. Nick, who do you got?
Yeah, so I went with Notre Dame in this, but like I stated earlier, I think the spread is, I don't want to say disrespectful, because there is definitely a talent gap, but just the game that Navy plays, it's going to be closer than what it was. Maybe 2 touchdowns, maybe up to 17 points, but I don't see it reaching that 20. It's just going to be a slow, dreadful game. Both teams have travel. It might end up being fun to watch. I don't know. I probably not. I'm not usually a big fan of slow games, but for the players, I've been in games like that. It's going to be terrible to play in. They're still going to get away with it.
You don't like slow games, but you're a Big Ten fan, so.
Yeah. Yeah, but like there's a possibility of big plays. I don't see any of that happening today.
Slade, who do you got?
Yeah, I went with Notre Dame here as well. I think it would have been a good over-under for them to post in possessions for Navy, just because I think that, like Rico had said, it might be close to 4 or 1 1/4, but you never know. I think that Notre Dame is going to handily win this game, but that's just based on the talent difference here between the two teams and recruiting abilities.
Yeah. I'm thinking Notre Dame as well, just because I don't want to get disowned by my family. But these two always play so close. I mean, a lot of people don't realize how tight this rivalry game is. Last year, Notre Dame was 7-3, Navy was 3-7. And it was a 3-point game. Notre Dame was up 35-13, and Navy came back and shut them out in the second half. Navy's defense is always one of the best, and like we've talked about so much, with a triple option offense, you just control the ball. You're not going to break off 60, 70-yard runs. You're going to get 4 yards every play. Third down, you're going to move the chains and go on. I think Notre Dame always has a difficult time closing out games. It's going to be interesting to see if they can finally fix that this season. But I definitely think this is a very close game. I only have it as a touchdown difference. I think it's going to be that close and low scoring as well. 28-21 is going to be my prediction. But I have Notre Dame winning.
You know what's crazy is Navy lost to Notre Dame last year, 35-32. Not a lot of people even realized the game was that close, right? Mm-hmm. The very next week, Navy went on the road to play number 20 ranked UCF and beat them. Navy beat the 20th ranked team. Like, people got to understand this Navy team, they're doing something else, bro. They only won 4 games last year, but that was one of them, okay? They are a problem. They're a matchup nightmare. You go on the road and beat the 20th ranked team. They can show up and hit you in the mouth, but I think physically they're not there this season, not with Notre Dame. Notre Dame looks to be one of the better teams. Now, I have Notre Dame losing 4 games this season, so we're clear. 4 games in a row. In a row. I've said it before, and I might be wrong, but I'm Rico. Nonetheless, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Also, your video you posted yesterday, we were very thankful that you said those kind words about us. It's been an honor having you on here. It's been a lot of fun. You have a wealth of knowledge, and it's been so cool just getting to hear you talk and express that wealth of knowledge. We can't thank you enough for joining us today. If you're watching this, if you're not following Rico on either YouTube or TikTok, make sure you do that. He posts content every day, a lot of content every day, and it's just like this. It's personal, and it's very well spoken, and like he said earlier, he's very intelligent, and he definitely shows it. So we can't thank you enough for joining us today, Rico.
Hey, I want to tell you guys something. I made that video yesterday, and I've been wanting to make that video for months, and I didn't know you guys, okay? But the point is, I wanted to show my audience that, yes, I do get propositions every single day. I get it. They want me on TV. They want me on other podcasts. They want me all over the place. But what they don't understand is I want my own brand. I want my own thing, right? So this morning I'm with you guys as you start your journey and you start trying to carve your niche in this world of sports talk. I wore this shirt. And this shirt, it says Rico Knows on it, okay? It says Rico Knows right here. And it's got a weird emblem nobody's ever seen. This is a throwback shirt. On the back, it's got some random shit on it. It's not any good. But I can remember the first time I got this shirt, I was on top of the world. I was like, I made it, bro. I got my own merch. I got my own shirt. And I was so excited. Okay? And people started wearing my stuff and everything. And over the last year, the logo's changed. The slogan's changed, right? My motto, your friends don't know, but Rico knows, right? Everybody writes it in the bottom of. I could see videos. I saw videos yesterday from all over the sports world, and if you go to the comments, you'll just find somebody says Rico knows.
Yeah.
It's so remarkable. But I wanted to show you guys the journey started here as a rough draft, and it wasn't a finished product. And you'll be so amazed where you can get to with just drive, determination, commitment, and just evolution, right? Yes, there does need to be some innate ability and skill set. But I love your show, your setup. Guys, I do a show. I don't have any of this. I can't do graphics. I don't have lists made. I don't have pre-proposition this. I told you I don't have a script. I just talk and wing it, right? I don't have production of any sort. And that's why I do a show every single day, and that's why I make 10 videos an hour, because I can just talk on my phone and go. It's a man in his living room with an iPhone. But I'm telling you, it changed my life. And I think that anybody out there, you're that close to greatness. If you have it, you're that close to changing the trajectory of your life and what your dreams are. And that's why I take my time out of my day to say, I'll join you guys. Now, can I do this next week? No, it's 10:30. The games start, right? But the point is I told you, I will give you my time, and I genuinely will come in here. I'm not pressed for time. I'm not in a hurry. I'm not upset. I don't know you three gentlemen from anywhere, but I promise you, we could all sit down at a table somewhere, break bread, and just talk sport and have a good time. And that's what's unique about this, because we wouldn't know each other from any other walk of life. We wouldn't. I wouldn't pass you guys where I live in passing, in my hobbies, in my day-to-day life, like never. But I appreciate it. It's awesome. I like the fact that three dudes have known each other their whole lives, kicking and saying, yo, let's go do this thing. So I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget, we'll be back same time next week to preview Week 1. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll be here all season. So thank you guys so much. Go enjoy your Week 0, and our podcast will be out Thursday morning. We'll see you then.
Hey, for my people, I'm going to jump on my live stream, and I'll do my Q&A. I have a bunch of questions and answers I got to get to. All right, peace, y'all.
Have a good one.
Yep.
Thanks, Rico.
Sorry, guys. Let me get my live stream up here, and we'll go. And I'll start taking questions. Give me 1 second to step away. I got to get a cup of ice and turn on the fan, and then we'll get going. All right, I'll be right back. Actually, we can put on some music. I don't want to leave you guys in silence. Let's go here. Boom, boom, boom. Give me a second. We got about 5 seconds.
Move I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you. I do this for my father, who I've only seen from time to time in my dreams. I do this for you. I do this for my mother, who's finally clean, no longer a fan. I do this for you. I do this for my sister, my wife and my kids, cause they part of the team. I do this for all the naysayers and haters who made me one of the greatest. I know it kills you inside, that's why I do this for you.
I do this for the kids who sit a bit outside the mix, who maybe cope through humor just to fit in for a bit, who never let the world know when depression's setting in. To all of those who know you, that impression don't exist, and it ain't counterfeit, it's just a way to counter it. I'm living things I dreamed about, I still encounter it. It ain't something that a cigarette or alcohol can fix, but all because of it, I flipped it quick, went on to write some hits. This a success, off another breath. This the first step in searching to be nothing less than be the best in what you do to prove their strength in being you. Learn so much in chasing dreams that I never would in school. Depends on where your passion lie, just no passion never lie. Life presents distractions, but your actions have to fortify. The things that you believe in have to scream it like a battle cry, and leave the ones who didn't looking stupid while they're asking why. Couldn't lie, I really do this for the ones I love. Those who treat the music as a vice and lyrics like a drug. Those who need advice on how to lift their spirit.
All right, y'all. Welcome back. All right. So I just got done doing my show with JackWagonSports, and I want to tell you guys, they call their episode Out the Tunnel. Is that what they call it? Coming Out the Tunnel or Out the Tunnel? I apologize. I should know this, guys. Out the Tunnel. I think I wrote Coming Out the Tunnel on the pregame here. I probably need to edit that. I can't edit it right now. But I want to say to you guys, I had a great time on the show. So if you don't know JackWagonSports, feel free. They just commented in the live chat here. Feel free to go to their YouTube page. I want to say it's at JackWagonSports, all one word, at JackWagonSports 1266. So once again, at JackWagonSports 1266 on YouTube. And if you watch it, you'll be able to see everything I just did. I was just on the show with them for about an hour and a half, talking about all the games, giving my input, giving my predictions. We did game selections. I think we did Heisman, playoffs, national champs. I don't try to do any of that stuff, but I did provide some background and some context for you guys. The games are getting ready to start. I will not be on live stream while the game's on. I probably will be tweeting here and there, but I got to watch the games and be focused. I'll make content as we go, but you guys will probably be writing me nonstop. If you want to write to me, go to my Twitter, add me on Twitter, and you can write whatever messages, anything I missed or I need to see. I'm only going to be watching about 3 games. I got 2 monitors here and my TV there, so 3 games at any given time. So I hope you guys watch them. The game I'm most excited about, everybody's most excited about, is San Diego State and Ohio. I'm hoping the Ohio Bobcats look real. I'm excited for Rourke and St. Bangora and Wiggles and everybody else. So I hope you guys are excited for that. But without further ado, I'm going to get to your questions and answers. If you guys are on TikTok watching me right now, come on over to YouTube. Hit the link. Go to the live stream. We only got 17 people in here right now. There's 60, 70 of you over here. Move on over. Let's have a talk, and we'll go from there. So what's good, Rico? What up, Lewis Henton? What up, Corey Flores? Good to see you guys always here. Marlo Stanfield, thanks for being here, brother. Appreciate you. David in AZ says, good morning, Rico. Good morning to you. You're in Arizona. It's 7 a.m. over there. What's cracking, fool? Hey, Arias says, hey, Rico, I'm kind of interested on your thoughts on how a new clock rule will affect the games for Week 0 and Week 1. Well, it's going to affect them the same way. I don't necessarily know. We're going to see it firsthand. But the new clock rule is the clock's not going to stop after every single first down. They don't want these games lasting as long as they do. We'll see how it happens. We'll see what goes down. Otis Grimes says, sounds like you would be a great chess player. And what he's referring to is my cognitive load, my ability to retain information and then apply it seamlessly without issue. And I want to tell you, I'm actually not a great chess player. I'm okay, but I've never really applied myself to chess. If I sat down and read books on it, studied openings and what to do, I'd be great. But I think I'm only about a 1,200 rating, so I just play casually. I understand how the pieces move. I can beat you. I can play. But 1,200, I'm not trying to be competitive at it at all. I actually play it as I lay in bed, as I go to bed at night, just to keep my mind kind of active. But that's what I play to fall asleep at night. I don't play speed chess either, maybe 5 minutes a match. Rico's always on the grind. The work ethic is unmatched. You guys don't know. Shout out to you, Try Glassin. I've been up early every day. Wisconsin will wake people up. Me too. They won't wake me up. I was up way before them. Bob said, where is the main feed? Oh, they were watching the live stream. Yes, I was doing a live stream on a show. It's a great show. If you guys don't know, they use StreamYard. It's a great software. I probably need to use it if I'm going to do interviews next season. But they use it. They interviewed me. I'm on camera with 3 other guys. Shout out to them. And I had a great time. So talking to George, Nick, and Slade, they're 3 best friends. JackWagonSports. They do a pregame show before ESPN and anything of that nature, so it doesn't interfere with what you're doing. You can always watch them. And you can watch them after the fact because they post it. I thought it was a good show, man. I had a good time. I like talking to them, and you know, they're interested and they come prepared. So has Rico, this guy Snipe says, has Rico seen BS School, Bishop Sycamore, the documentary on Bishop Sycamore? I wonder his thoughts. No, I haven't seen it, but it's not going to teach me anything. I remember every last portion of it. I did a 3-minute video on Bishop Sycamore. It's in my Storytime playlist. I talked about everything, but I actually talked about the game they played Friday night. Everybody knows about the game they played against IMG on Sunday on ESPN, But what you might not know is they actually played a game that Friday in Pennsylvania against a school called Rocks, something Rocks, and they lost that game as well. The tape is insane. So I made a video about the unknown game nobody was talking about. Maybe they brought it up in the documentary, but yeah, they're not going to teach me anything about that I wouldn't know. It was 2021. I know everything about it, studied it like crazy. It's pretty remarkable. Flyboy says, I lived in Lawrenceville, Georgia for 7 years and always wanted to be a Black Knight growing up. You wanted to be British? A Black Knight, Martin Lawrence? How is Gwinnett Central High School in football? Most Gwinnett schools are pretty good. It all depends. Any given year, if you can have good players there, they're not bad. That's how that goes. Rico knows. Oh, that's me. There they go. They're letting you guys know. What's popping? What's popping, Earl? My collar's popping. What? Boom. YouTube. TJ says, what up, Rico? Any good high school games to watch today? Yeah, there's some good high school games on Saturday. Let me show you guys. So here's how you watch it. Now, you got to go to NFHS to even get the feed, but if you want to know which ones they are, I go to Google. I go to GPB Sports because they're free. They're on TV. Let me show you guys. GPB Sports right there. Boom. Click on it. Click on it. We're in sports. We go to scores and schedule. You can see all last night's games, all the scores. Shout out to Buford for squeaking by, winning 10-7 over Mallard Creek in North Carolina. But once you see all these games, if you scroll to the bottom, these are all the high school games in the state of Georgia. If you scroll to the bottom, here we go. Saturday's games. One game's in the second quarter right now. But here's all the other games. Lowndes is playing a team from Florida. This is a pretty big deal. Lowndes is a perennial power in Georgia playing Gadsden County. Let's see what happens. Mays and Douglas County. This is the one I'm excited for. Creekside, one of the top 5A schools in the state. Going to play St. Peter. Creekside, for whatever reason, has an insane schedule. They play Mater Dei in a couple of weeks. They have no business playing Mater Dei, but they have a very talented team. A lot of guys going to FBS-level schools. I don't know how good St. Peter Prep is. I had a guy from New Jersey associated with St. Peter Prep reach out to me in a DM and just asked me for a scouting report on Creekside. True story. I got the DMs maybe 3-4 days ago. I just told him, hey, you shouldn't have a problem with them. But it is what it is. Nonetheless, I get excited about these games. I want to see Burke County play great again, see if they can do it against Effingham County. So those are all the games here on Saturday. But the big one for me, I'm curious to see what Creekside does against the New Jersey team, Lowndes against Florida, and Burke County. Last night, what game got me pretty excited with the final score? The game nobody's talking about, Brunswick beating Camden County. Brunswick is down 95. If you don't know, Brunswick, the city, is right across the border, about 30 miles in from Florida. And Brunswick playing a perennial power like Camden County from 7A and beating them, bruh, that's chef's kiss. Shout out to them kids for doing the damn thing. I know they had to be super excited as you look at the scores and you look at what's happening around here. I'm going to keep looking. Swainsboro looking like they want to go to the state title game again. Shout out to them. Oh, by the way, remember the star quarterback from Tennessee, the number 2 kid out of the country? What was his name? They got shut out. They played our boys at Prince Avenue Christian last night. Prince Avenue Christian beat them 42-0. Nashville Christian, who's that quarterback? The kid, the freshman, second to Juju Lewis. I did a video on the kid. I can't even remember his name because there's nothing to remember here. They lost 42-0. That's how loaded Prince Avenue Christian is. So shout out to them. Yeah, going over all these high school scores, I should probably tell people, the high school football fans, that I'm going to go over the scores the following morning. That's something I should do. Shout out to Mill Creek for getting it done, beating Norcross. Mill Creek's got a hell of a running back. If you don't know, go back and watch the state title game. Team from Tennessee showing up and beating Woodward County. Once again, Woodward Academy, great school here in Georgia, getting beat by a stud school in another state. But shout out to Marist, rep in Georgia. Marist goes to Alabama, does their damn thing, beats them. Anytime you play a team out of state, you can't be losing. Buford pulled it out. Marietta winning in overtime over West Forsyth. Big deal. Congratulations to them. Some of these teams, Hapeville, you don't belong on the same field as Lee County. Lee County's a beast every year, and they proved it again. Shout out to them. Hephzibah, they're near me. They're terrible, by the way. Absolutely terrible, just so we're clear. So is Greenbrier when they come up. Thompson doing their thing, beating Jefferson County. Thompson's looking like they're going to be in the state title game again, and I hope they do it. I accidentally clicked on the screen. I apologize. Yeah, I'm excited about a lot of high school games that took place last night. There's Greenbrier, terrible, losing to Grovetown. Like I told you. Grayson, 83-0 over Eagles Landing. I had a text about this. I got a DM. Somebody said, hey, Rico, my app is broken. It's telling me the score is 57-0 at half. I said, bro, that's not Elka. That's not Eagle Landing's Christian. That's Eagles Landing. But Grayson took it to him. 83-0. What the hell does that box score look like? I'm curious. Rico, here's the box score, scout. Bruh, it's 83-0. I don't need to see the game. Here's the game that mattered, though. Eagles Landing Christian got blown out by Blessed Trinity 46-0. Blessed Trinity's not playing with you. Shout out to them. Just stud teams. If you guys ever learned about how great these teams are, but another team from Tennessee beat a Georgia team. It's not good. Westlake. I told everybody, Westlake looks great. Next week they play Cedar Grove. That's going to be the showdown. It'll be on TV. I'll be live streaming for the whole game. Westlake has a track team. Westlake has a stud team. Like, everybody on that team is amazing. Westlake is great, and they won 50-12 last night over Chris County. I think Westlake is poised to make noise for the state title this year. I really do. Valdosta bounce back win. Not impressive. Colquitt County over Stockbridge. Shout out to Coffee for beating Bainbridge. That's impressive. Just because it is. Florida shows up and beats them again. Now Charlton County loses 31-20. Just doesn't matter. What school from Florida shows up, they're winning. Somebody asked, how good is Central Gwinnett? I always wanted to be Black Knight. Well, Central Gwinnett won last night 50-7 over Alapache. So shout out to them. Roswell, man. Just a stud team, 71-7. Oh, Roswell and Rome are kind of in the same pocket for me. Shout out to Cartersville for getting it done. Calhoun getting it done over Carver. Good for them. There it is. That's the upset nobody wants to talk about right there. That upset. Brunswick, Camden County. That's so impressive, you guys. I just don't know what to tell you. I'm excited for it. Just a small school, guys. And then when you go to the rankings, check this shit out. When you go to the rankings, where's Camden County in the top 7? They're not there? Cool. Where's Brunswick? Brunswick was 10th. Watch Brunswick move up, bruh. Brunswick was 10th. Opened the season with a win over a 7A school. Give them their due. Woodward County left the state and lost. Like they shouldn't leave the state. Don't leave the state, you'll lose. Texas knows this. Texas doesn't play anybody outside of state. You'll lose. Milton, they lost their first game to Hughes. Okay. Carrollton lost. No. Who did Milton lose to? It'll come to me. Warner Robins lost. Calhoun's lost one. Dutchtown, Jones County all lost one. Cedartown's lost one. Bainbridge just lost. 0-2 Stockbridge. They're still ranked. That's important. You guys saw how close Stockbridge was to Colquitt County? Stockbridge is actually really good, but they're 0-2. There's my team that I'm pulling for, Burke County. I'm pulling for them. Don't think they'll win everything. I'm just pulling for them. Cedar Grove got their first loss. Carver Atlanta got their first loss. It just happens, guys. These small teams are going to lose. Peach State still ain't won a game. They're still ranked top 10. 0-2. Shout out to them. Thompson's my team, but they did lose their opening game. Thompson's my team, though. They were number 1. They dropped to 3. We'll see what happens. Please stop sending me invites. I don't want to go live and battle people. All right, I'll go back to taking questions. Sorry, I'm just excited about high school football last night in the state of Georgia. Let's go. They're on YouTube with 9 people watching. Don't worry about it, Morantz Rants. Everybody's got to start somewhere, bro. It's under 44.5 in New Mexico versus UMass. Is that a good number, Rico? Yeah, I like the under up at that game. New Mexico, UMass, 44.5. Give me the under. George said give him the over. JackWagonSports. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I could be wrong. Maybe they come out with new offenses. But I know UMass has a new starting quarterback. I know they have an incredible defense. They got a ton of transfers all on the defensive side of the ball. I think they're going to be hard to score on, and they're going to struggle to have continuity on the offensive side of the ball. So UMass isn't scoring much. What's New Mexico going to do? Are they going to put up 40-something? That'd be news to me. That's all I'm saying. I almost forgot. I hope everyone is having an amazing day and stay positive. Thank you, Corey Flores. JackWagonSports says, thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you to Rico for everything. We love y'all. Shout out to you, JackWagonSports. You guys are awesome. Going to be nice to watch Caleb Williams today. Also, shout out to UMass. I'm excited for everybody. David in Arizona says, Rico, what think of the things Jed Fish is doing in Arizona football? I think he's great. I think he's recruiting incredibly well, and I hope they keep winning games. Evan Kramer says, no, you don't care as much, but going to Mercer versus North Alabama today Anyone I need to watch out for? Yeah, watch out for the fans. Watch out for somebody who weighs 500 pounds trying to sit next to you, bruh. Watch out for diabetes. Watch out for traffic. I have no idea who's playing in this game. You want me to also follow the FCS level teams? You better stop it, Evan. Yo, Rico, great content. What's your ethnicity? My ethnicity, Edgar, I was raised a Mexican-American man. My parents are Mexican. My culture is Mexican. But I got a DNA test. I got my DNA test, which from 23andMe not too long ago. And when I got it done, the results were different from what I was told my entire life. I'm actually looking at my desktop to see if I have it somewhere up here. I don't know where I put it. But it turns out my background's Spanish. I'm from Spain. Apparently, my DNA's from Spain. And that's about it. But yeah, that's my Hispanic background. I don't have any European in me outside of Spain. I'm not white of any sort. I'm not Anglo or Caucasian. I'm just Hispanic. I'm just Mexican-American. And that's about it. But my kids, my ex-wife is Puerto Rican and Dominican. So I'm very familiar with Dominican and Puerto Rican culture from the Bronx, New York. So my kids are Mexican, Puerto Rican, and Spanish, and all that shit. So there you go. Another Sean Clifford masterclass today. Like I said, Sean Clifford's doing it all. I tried to tell everybody Sean Clifford's going to win that job, and I'm waiting for him to take it all. UTEP, Jacksonville State prediction. I have UTEP winning this game. I know that Jacksonville State has a great run in attack. They have some great players I'm excited for transfer-wise. Obviously a well-known coach, but I think UTEP is actually really good. People don't understand. UTEP beat Boise State last year. Like, people don't talk about it. But UTEP beat Boise State last year. UTEP is good. So let's see what happens. I expect them to win and win big. Hey, Rico, I've been watching you on TikTok for a while, and you're starting to become my main source for sports information. That's the plan. I love how in-depth you go and how right you are all the time. Keep it up. Thank you, Lorenzo. I love how right I am all the time. You know, people think it's a game. I saw somebody write in the comments, this guy's wrong all the time. It's like, well, what videos are you watching? What content are you watching? Are you watching opinionative, subjective pieces where I'm wrong because I said my favorite player is so-and-so and you said your favorite player is so-and-so? That's not being wrong. That's me giving my opinion on who my favorite player is. If I'm wrong, point it out. Make a stitch. Post the video. Share it across the internet and show them all my misses. I'd love to see that. Why hasn't anybody sat down and cut up all my misses into a montage? Because you'd be searching for days, bruh. I'll give you a hint. Go to I Am Wrong. Go to my I Was Wrong playlist. Start cutting up all that shit. Look how pathetic you look. West Toronto Prep was worse than Bishop Sycamore. Shout out to them. Sam Howell, going to be a dog. I already talked about it. He got a starting position. I don't know what dog you want him to be. He'll be a starting dog. He's one of the top 32 dogs in the world. What more do you want? What college football games are being played today? It doesn't feel like a game week. Chris E., it feels like a game week to me. I'm excited. We're on week 0 of the college football season. But since you asked the question, I'll pull it up. Let me go. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. Tell me when to go. Go. Dum. No, y'all don't know what I'm talking about, huh? Give me a second here. The UFC fights are on right now. The walkouts are going for the main event, and I'm not watching it? I won't stream it, guys. I can watch the replay. This is bad. Sorry, I can't even think straight right now. Because it's game day, and I'm excited. Because I want all my predictions to come true. All right, so here's the schedule. You asked what games are even being played today. And I don't think you meant it facetiously. I think you wanted to know. So I'm pulling it up for everyone to see. There it is. The games that are being played today are right here. First game being in Dublin, Ireland. So it's at 2:30. We all have to watch it, and nobody wants to. It's going to be Navy at Notre Dame. Whatever the spread is, don't believe it. This game was 35-32 last year. Notre Dame won the game, but Navy was in it. Now, Navy only won 4 games last year. They ended up beating UCF the following week, and UCF was the 20th ranked team in the country. Navy's not a game, bro, but they did lose their head coach. They do have a new system, but they still have the same defense. They still have the same defensive coordinator, the same head coach because he's their new defensive coordinator. The defense coordinator is their new head coach. But going on the road all the way to Ireland doesn't look good. Notre Dame supposedly got all this new firepower. You see them 13th in the preseason poll. I don't agree. I would say Notre Dame is a top 25 team, but definitely not top 15. Definitely not. Not for me. I just don't see it. Sam Hartman, when I went and studied his tape, trust what I tell you, he missed a lot. A lot. And the only reason he was so good is because he had a receiver in A.T. Perry that had a catch radius like you wouldn't believe. He had what we now know, A.T. Perry, to be a great NFL wide receiver, right? He's going to be good. And that'll make any quarterback look good. And he's been doing that for the last 2 years. But Sam Hartman was not that great when I watched the tape. Stats are off the chart. Shout out to him for being in a mesh system at Wake Forest. They utilize and they take care of the field and what they do. Like their scheme is based on, and I talked about this on the Jack Wagon thing, it's based on hash marks. And they do it well. But him moving to Notre Dame, the receiving core to me isn't that great. I know they have a great young freshman. And is it Gatehouse or Greathouse? That kid is going to be something special. I got it. But everybody else, for me, very underwhelming. Losing one of your wide receivers in Styles to Ohio State. Having your top transfer in Caleb Smith retiring due to injuries. The leading receiver at Virginia Tech, he's gone. It just doesn't look good. But they can run the rock. But at the same time, they tell me the spread on this is 20. How do I find the spreads? Where do I go to find spreads? You know, I'm not a gambler. Can somebody tell me a website to go to? College football spreads. Week 0. Let me do that. Notre Dame is a 20-point favorite. Stop it. Stop it. That's crazy. Vegas Insider here. There's the spreads. Okay. Let me explain something to you guys. Navy hasn't lost a game by 20 points that I can remember. It's just hard to lose by 20 when you're running the ball every single down and you don't get that many possessions. Like Navy does this thing where they eat up the clock all day long. How are they going to lose by 20? Now, it could happen, but I'm just curious. I don't get that. That sounds weird to me. USC, 30-point favorites over San Jose State. Are you dreaming, bro? USC can't beat anybody by 30 points. Everybody gets the score. USC's going to score, but so is the other team. And San Jose State's actually really good. They played Auburn last year, and the game was really close. Like, close. Let me go over here. Let me do this. Where is it at? Who am I talking about? San Jose State. They're not losing by 30 to USC. USC's good. I'm pulling this up. They play Oregon State the following week, by the way. Look at this. They played Auburn and lost by 8. Are you shitting me? You think they're losing by 30? When do they lose by 30? They've never lost by 30. This is a team. This is a real team, bro. They lost to Jake Haener by 7. They're not losing by 30. And San Jose State brings back their team. Their leading receiver, back. Their leading quarterback, back. It's a good team. 2 of their wide receivers are coming over. 2 of their wide receivers, you can't see it here, but 2 of their wide receivers are from one of the greatest wide receiver rooms nobody's ever talked about. I should make a video on this. But your boy Lockhart, Cooks, Hamilton, like, if you guys were to do this, if you were to go in here and go to Nevada, I've done this because I was studying this. Nevada wide receiver depth chart, I want to go 2019. This might be right. This might be where I was looking. And you go look at these wide receivers, and you're going to see Romeo Doubs. Oh, you know how I got it? You're going to see Elijah Cooks. Okay? Elijah Cooks, Romeo Doubs. You go to San Jose State, and you start seeing their leading receiver is a guy named Cooks. It's Elijah Cooks from Nevada. Nevada had, oh, by the way, Hudson's on this team. Like, one of their wide receivers, Torrey Horton, star wide receiver at Colorado State right now. One of the best group of 5 wide receivers in the whole country was at Nevada. Romeo Doubs in the NFL. And then the 2 leading receivers at San Jose State last year, you go to stats. I'm showing you. Look at this shit. Cooks, Lockhart, Hamilton, all in that Nevada wide receiver room. Cooks, Lockhart, Hamilton, all at Nevada. Something was going on in Nevada. And shout out to their old head coach, the Colorado State head coach right now. Man, what the hell is his name? What's wrong with me? You guys know. It'll come to me right now. Jay Norvell. Nevada. Why can't I spell Nevada? What's going on? Football stats. But when you start looking at this, when Jay Norvell was at Nevada, their receivers, there's Horton right there, the star receiver at Colorado State right now. Complete stud. There's Lockhart. There's Cooks. They're all here, man. And they're all at San Jose State now. And I'm telling you, they got a great quarterback. They used to have Carson Strong, right? And you see Dobbs, you see Horton, but there's Lockhart, Cooks. These are the star receivers at San Jose State. This is why they're not bad. This is why they're so good. I wish people studied. Like, I look into things like you wouldn't believe, bro. I'm so deep, it's nuts. I'm so deep, ask her. It's in her guts. I'm just letting you know. So, week 0 games I'm excited for. I don't know how to get back to the week 0 stuff. It's on teams now. It's on individual teams. Yeah, I'm excited for the games today. But they're not till tonight. Jared Curtis, that's the kid. Jared Curtis, the second best quarterback in the country, behind Juju Lewis, and showed up, played against Prince Avenue Christian last night, 42-0. Jared Curtis didn't score. Looks like a man amongst boys in Tennessee when you're playing scrubs. But you play against our best 2A, single A, our best single A school. Prince Avenue Christian put it on him, bro. 42-0. Them boys are real. And Prince Avenue Christian has a hell of a quarterback as well. Shout out to Aaron. That's a whole nother story. Rico, autocorrect. Are you watching the UFC card right now? Max Holloway about to fight right now. I don't like watching Max Holloway slur. Is it a site like this for Tennessee? I don't know what you're talking about, Earl. Oh, is there a site like this for Tennessee high school sports? I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Evan Kramer, did you catch any of Saraland versus Lipscomb last night on ESPN? Division I players all over the field. I know the kicker for Lipscomb has to feel terrible right now. Yeah, so everybody tagged me in it. I watched it. It was on the screen. I tried not to get too excited about high school football. At this point, I was really dealing with Trey Lance trade last night, so I was digging around doing some research, but it was on the screen. So, yeah, I saw the game. I just didn't make any videos on it. I don't like to kick a kid while he's down. We won by 1 to Ty Simpson, Westview, old school last. Okay, there you go. This is the kind of coverage we've been looking for. Thank you, Steve. Happy day 0, everyone. Yes, not watching the Holloway fight. Now, I told you, I don't like to see him slurring his speech everywhere. And you know I would. Did Lowndes win? Lowndes plays today, young boss. They did not win. Now, 83-0 is actually insane. Yes, it is. Shout out to Grayson for doing it. Matthew Butler, does Caleb Williams throw for more than 310 yards today? I think so. I think that's realistic. 310, that sounds believable. Lipscomb lost a close one last night. Yeah, it was a good one for sure. Tri Glasson says UMass has the Clemson transfer, right? TP, Tayson. Yeah, he's Georgia Tech, but he was former Clemson to Georgia Tech, then up there. That's their quarterback. Shout out to UMass. At Matthew, he better because they're playing nobody. 310 yards. Once again, Chris E., you better stop. San Jose State is not nobody. I just showed you guys what they did last year. San Jose State is real. Please respect San Jose State. They are a really good team. Their quarterback, Cordero, is a former Hawaii quarterback, transferred there. He's all second team Mountain West last year. Like, they got a real team. I wish people respected them more, man. That's nuts. San Jose State played Auburn. And you know what they did before this, right? Like, maybe you guys weren't paying attention. I'll pull it up. I got you. Maybe you guys don't watch, like, what you're saying when you say teams are terrible. You know why San Jose State is playing Oregon State and USC? Because they want to see where they're at. Because they're ready for this competition. Why are they matched up against Toledo, one of the top teams in the MAC? This is the competition they want. Because they win games. Right? But we'll look at 2021. They were struggling. Right? But when you go back and look and you start paying attention to what they're doing, they've been building for this, guys. They've been building for this. But everybody needs to respect them. Because during the COVID season, they ran the table. They stopped being a doormat long ago. They have just been trying to build a program This is when they were a doormat. This is when they were trash. This is when you can say they're playing nobody. When you go from 1-11 5 years ago to playing Auburn in a one-possession game, big difference. Take a 1-11 team 5 years ago and then say, yeah, they ain't shit. A one-possession game against Auburn. Big difference. San Jose State's real, y'all. Their quarterback, Cordero, gives them a chance in every game. He's Tua light. He's Tua 1.0. Okay, Tua 0.5. Depends on how long he plays. Aaron Brown diss track dropped. Okay, what do you want me to do? Some high school games are on ESPN. Oh, by the way, we don't call him Aaron Brown in here. His name is Earthworm Jim. He looks like Earthworm Jim. Some high school games are on ESPN today. Okay, sweet. Watch them. Sorry for me spelling he. It's early in Arizona. I'll put him on. Upset alert. Navy upsetting Notre Dame. Just kidding. It will be a competitive game. I don't see a blowout. Same here, Chris E. You can do it. JJ Malachi, please don't repeat yourself. We see it the first time. Also, Rico, team time trial starts in an hour and a half. It is your Spanish heritage, by the way, before you slander. Okay? I don't know shit about that. Are we talking about race cars? Are we talking about F1? Cycling? What are we doing? Which Notre Dame wide receiver are you most intrigued by in today's game? Seems a huge question mark for them this season. So there's two of them. Let me pull it up so I can show you. Notre Dame depth chart. Boom. So the two I'm most excited about. Chris Tyree moving over from running back. So Chris Tyree was the third leading rusher on the team last year. They moved him to the slot receiver. And we'll see what he can do now as a full-time receiver. The other one is Jaden Greathouse. Being a true freshman, showing up. Shout out to Rico Flores, by the way. Rico, because Rico knows. But Jaden Greathouse is supposed to be the truth, okay? So I'm really pulling for this kid. Straight out of Texas, watching him play at Westlake. I think that he can do some things. I used to watch him play in the state championship, state playoff games. And did my thing just freeze? I think something froze on my computer. We're good. I was like, frozen like that. Okay, anyways. So, yeah, that's what I'm excited about. So, Tyree and Greathouse, let's see what happens. Tyree and Greathouse are the two receivers I'm most excited for. I saw at the Choctaw football game, man, that stuff is crazy. Yeah, I don't like it, guys. I don't like it at all. Is UCF a sleeper in the Big 10, in the Big 12? In the Big 12? You said in the Big 10. No, they're not a sleeper in the Big 10. They don't play in the Big 10. UCF plays in the Big 12, and they're not a sleeper. They're just in it. Can I get a happy birthday, Rico? Yeah, sure. Happy birthday. Shout out to you, Jahed, Sugar, hey. Yeah. Please hammer the like button. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here, guys. Hey, Rico, any thoughts on Washington State high school football this year? Washington State high school football? Not a damn clue, bro. All I know is Bellevue good. Like, I don't know, man. I haven't studied it and looked into it, to be honest. Max Holloway fighting right now. Good job. What storylines are you looking forward to most over the next 2 weeks? I don't know. I'm talking about them every day, so I'm not going to go over the next 2 weeks. I'm talking about storylines every single day. Please pay attention. Holloway is going to box TKZ's face-off fighting during these Maui fires. Stop it. I never understand why A.T. Perry fell in the draft. Very slow first 10 yards, not great at acceleration. Good top-end speed, but not. It just looks like he can be jammed everywhere. That's why A.T. Perry fell. Action Sports. Shout out to Action Sports, I guess. What you think of 4-star Clemson recruit Christian Bentekar? I haven't looked into him at all, so I can't really give you an opinion. I know the name. I've looked at his ratings and his rankings, but I've never watched his tape, so I can't give you an opinion. They will score on USC tonight. They will. San Jose State is pretty good. But USC's defense is very good. Please understand that, guys. Please stop. I wish you guys would study the players and learn who they are. Pat McAfee is high on game day right now. Oh, no thanks. I won't watch. Guys, I don't watch game day. I don't watch game day. Let me know when there's a post that says Rico Knows on there. Let me know. Hey, Rico, how do you think the Seattle Seahawks will do? I haven't checked their schedule. Don't really care. I don't try to guess what NFL teams will do. That's not part of my thing. Malik Washington, 3. throwing one in the first half against Don Bosco last night. Hey, Malik Washington, a quarterback I covered, one of the top quarterbacks in the DMV area. I did a video on him. Looks like he dominated in the first half. Shout out to him. Coach T is the site for Tennessee. There you go. Thoughts on Illinois football? Illinois as the university, I think they'll be down this year. Those are my thoughts. Unfortunately, they lost defensive coordinator. They lost a ton of NFL talent. I just don't see them recovering. It'll be another 2 or 3 years before they're relevant. But shout out to Luke Altmaier. Hopefully he can do his thing. What's the games you watching today? I try to watch all of them, Jovan King. I have them all on at the same time. So there's not really any games I'm going to miss. Rico, we need that Tanner McKee preseason film breakdown. Yeah, you can wait. I'm a little busy. College football is my niche and my meal ticket. Thoughts on Audric Estime? Audric is the number one running back at Notre Dame. He's a good running back. I think he plays well, and I hope they give him the rock. Hope they get him the rock as much as they need to. I know they have a lot of other running backs they believe in, young guys, but Audric is him. Pitt football, what do you want me to say? They're tough. They're Pitt tough. Hey, Rico, what's up, man? What up, Easy Sunrise? I may be late, but have you heard the interview with Colorado offensive lineman Tyler Brown's mom concerning his NCAA denial? No, I have not. Once they deny it, I'm over it, guys. I don't keep watching. When we hear about the denial, that's after the appeal. So they've already appealed it and denied it a second time. There's nothing to talk about. They're just going to complain and say things. It's not going to change a fucking thing. The whole season's going to go on, and the kid's not going to play. 8 shootings at high school football games through 2 weeks of football. It's out of control. Take away the guns. Who's playing quarterback for the Buccaneers? I told you guys this all off season. There is no quarterback competition for the Buccaneers. I've told everybody every single day, over and over and over. There's only one starting quarterback for the Buccaneers, and there is no competition there, please. Preferred college football snack food. I know you don't snack. Yeah, so I don't snack, but if I had to eat while watching the game, it's going to be pizza. That's got to be my go-to, but I don't snack. I don't have potato chips, cookies, anything of that nature. I also don't watch games with other people. I try not to watch games. I don't have viewing parties. I know there's a gentleman hit me up last night in a DM. He said, hey, Rico, can you make an announcement? I would like to have a Colorado football viewing party at Twin Peaks. Here in Augusta, we have a Twin Peaks downtown. Let's get all the Colorado fans to go out there and watch the game together. Let's start a viewing party at Twin Peaks for the Colorado football game. Sounds great. He'd love to have me there and get people to go there. But I don't watch football in big groups of people. Number one, I don't like the comments from people who don't know what's going on. It's really hard to watch games when you don't understand what's happening. I also push pause a lot. Like, you can ask Kim. I will be watching a game, and I will hit pause and rewind it and go over a play 3 times to show her, oh, look what he read here. Look what happened. Like, I just break it down in the middle of the game. I will do that. That's just who I am. You can't do that with a big group of people. They want to see the next play. I'm in no hurry to see the next play. I'll catch up on the next commercial break, right? So I live in my own world when I'm watching games. It's weird. That's why I can't live stream while I do it. I'm different, bro. Kim says he does. I jump up and point at the screen and explain things to her and make her watch it over and over and over. It's just what I do. So shout out to me because I'm different like that. I don't watch it in groups of people at all. Javon King says, hey, Rico, how are you doing, bro? Genuinely, how's life? Life's good, man. My pockets are deep. I'm not worried about a bill in this world. I'm getting ready to retire from the Army. Just got my 4187 signed by my brigade commander, which means he's letting me go. He's letting me go home like I've been begging to do for the last 2 years. They're finally letting me off. They wanted me to go to Maryland and work for another year, go be a first sergeant up there. I don't want to lead soldiers for another year. I'm just not committed to the craft anymore. Committed to being a senior leader to service members. I've reached my culmination point. I've done my time. I'm over 20 years. I'm ready to go. And the money doesn't move me. Like they offer you bonuses and pay for move and all these other things, but none of that moves me. I'm ready to go. I just had a really, really close friend and good friend. Unfortunately, he tapped out, man. I just had a friend. His service is on Monday, so. Another fellow master sergeant that I got promoted with 5 years ago. We've been brothers for the whole time. Just found out he committed suicide last weekend, left behind a wife and 4 kids. And the mental anguish and detriment and weight that weighs on us is insane. Like, you meet people and they'll be like, "Oh, I served, I was in the Army, or I deployed," or any of those things, right? You meet people like this all the time, and they might have did like 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, whatever it was. And I'm not here to marginalize their commitment to the country. I'm just here to tell you that we've been doing this for 20 years, and we've been at war the entire time. I can't think of another generation outside of anyone who joined at the beginning of Vietnam, but who joined an army at war for 20 years. Like, we have been in this highly stressful, engaged environment for 2 decades, and it weighs on you. It wears you out. And I've stayed relevant. I've stayed fine. I've been getting promoted and pushing through in my career, but it tears down a lot of people. So when I see one of my brothers just last week tap out on his wife and kids, like, just, he's out, and shout out to him. I don't want to say his name because I don't need to do that, but I just want you guys to know, like, I was driving in the car when I found out. Kim was with me. We were on vacation, and Kim said, hey, she didn't quite know how to comfort me, but I made a lot of phone calls. I made a lot of phone calls to a lot of friends and a lot of coworkers, and just kind of talked. And we're really frustrated because we have resources, we have help, we have counseling and therapy and medication and all the things you can do. But when somebody reached their culmination point and they're ready to go, what do you do, bruh? So it is what it is. But I stay positive. I just know that it's my turn. It's my time to go. It's my time to pursue a different passion in life, and it's been this one for the last year now. And I think I'm going to be all right. So looking forward to it. Sorry to end the show on such a somber note. Thank you for saying I killed it on the Jack Wagons show this morning. I appreciate it. I tried my best. Apparently, Aaron Brown dissed me, and it was hard. Pause. Aaron Brown probably put out a diss track. If you didn't know, Aaron Brown is a content creator here on TikTok. He talks very slowly because I don't think he's very well spoken. And, most of his takes suck. So he probably made a song that sucks as well, and it's probably offbeat, but it is what it is. So, anyways, your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Thanks for being here, guys. Hope you enjoy the games today. Peace.